one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Madam Clerk.
Councilor Janik?
Present.
Councilor Edwards?
Present.
Councilor Paul?
Present.
Councilor Perry?
Present.
Councilors Comito, Burke, and DeMedeiros are absent.
Thank you. And just so everybody knows, Councilor DeMedeiros asked me to share that she had a family emergency this evening. Now, without objection, I'd like to take item 7A out of order. Any objections? Okay, hearing none, this is the public hearing. Oh, I'm sorry. Good catch. Before we take 7A out of order, I'd like everybody to stand for a moment of silence in memory of Robert Cahill Martin. Thank you. Now, without objection, I'll take 7A out of order, which is a public hearing for Shelly Stubbs, approval of a sound variance for wedding at 227 Schooner Drive on September 13th, 2026. Is Ms. Stubbs present? All right. Come on up. Your choice. You can sit or stand, whatever your preference is. Wanted to make sure everybody in town knows that you're getting married. And they all came out tonight.
I came from New York, so this is quite the journey.
Wonderful. We'll get you right in and out. So obviously this is straight up approval of a sound variance. Is any member of the public like to speak on this application as I open up public hearing? Yes, please. If you wouldn't mind, just come up to the mic and name and address for the record, please.
My name is Valerie Martin, and I live at 37 Sloop Lane, which is directly above the boathouse.
Okay.
I'd like for the request for a variance to not be approved. We are a 55 and over community, and I know a lot of people go to bed before 11 o'clock, and my fear is that if this gets approved, that it may set a precedent for future approvals at the boathouse. They're expanding the footplate, if you will, and I can see that it has greater potential to be a wedding venue, more so than it is now, and I couldn't blame them if that's what they want to do. But for the residents who live there, it will be challenging to go to bed at normal times, which could be anywhere from 9:30, 10:30 for many 55 and over people.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you. Ms. Stubbs, I noticed that you are only looking for a variance from 6 to 10 p.m. Is that correct?
I think it was till 11. The first,
Okay.
yeah, the first bit was for ideally if we can book it in time, because it's a little late at this point, for a string quartet for the first part, and then the latter part would be a DJ, but it would be using the boathouse sound system. So
Okay, their internal sound system?
Yeah, we
Okay.
would just be using the restaurant sound system.
Is this inside or outside?
It's on their patio, so outside.
Patio.
Yeah.
So technically inside though, because they have the side curtains that drop, yes?
Yeah.
Okay.
I mean, yeah.
All right, so we'll just continue with the public hearing. Any other members of the public like to speak on this request for a variance? Any other members of the public? Okay, hearing none, I'd like to close the public hearing. Any questions from the council? Councilor Janik.
The patio is when you're looking at the restaurant over to the left, correct?
Yeah, that's correct.
Okay. So the houses would be like to the other side, right, of the building?
I'm not super
When you
familiar
come down
with
the
it.
street, they're like over to the
Boathouse is to the
side.
left and the houses are
To the right, yeah, correct. So it would be a string quartet from 7 to 9, and then it would be a DJ
Switching to the, DJ over the
for
in-house
2
sound system.
hours using an internal sound system.
Yeah, no outside speakers.
Okay. I've not ever been outside and heard sound from outside. I've been there and have dined and had functions in there, and I'm assuming that would be using the internal speakers as well. Okay.
And yes, the woman who did speak from Sloop Lane, that would be effectively a straight line shot to the patio.
to the right.
So it's the house closest to the road, the last house on the bottom there. Any other members of the council? Any members of the council like to make a motion?
I will make the motion, we're going to 10 o'clock.
10 o'clock?
That's what's on the agenda. 10 o'clock.
Madam Clerk, is that accurate?
But her application says 11 o'clock.
We gotta check the advertisement, because it might have been advertised for 11. But the advertisement will control over the agenda.
Okay. If you wouldn't mind just double checking.
Would it be possible to go to 10? Not to ruin your big day, but
I would prefer it to go to 11, just because I've already communicated it to everybody, and also we're starting at 7 p.m., which is a little later.
well, so keep in mind, 11 would be 10 to 11 would be music, that, like the option there. You can still have the event if they want to keep you to 11,
I just wouldn't be able to play any music.
or within the building, sound.
Do we know how, how level the sound would be,
I have
basically?
no idea. I've been to events there too, I couldn't tell you.
Mr. Solicitor, can you, just for the applicant, articulate the sound ordinance?
We still have to comply with the sound ordinance. If there were any complaints, any objectors could call the police and they would take a sound measurement, but just because we could giving this license, they still have to comply with all the sound requirements of our ordinance.
All right, so,
We just want to wait for the advertisement. I want to just see what it...
okay.
Can I just say that when they do have music until 10 o'clock, you can still hear it quite well in our houses. So I'm sure it's within the noise ordinance. My neighbors tell me when they've come to the council before and they said they haven't received complaints. Well, until 10 o'clock doesn't seem too bad that you can go to sleep. But beyond that, some people do go to sleep then. So even though it's within that noise ordinance and there haven't been complaints, you can still hear that noise if you're trying to go to sleep. Thank you.
Thank you. And I appreciate that. I mean, I actually was up at the Villages this past week speaking with a number of the residents, and there were complaints brought up about jake braking on the highway, which used to not be a thing because the bridge itself would have potentially fallen down, but now it's a thing again. So believe it or not, the Villages are actually catching trucks late night jake braking over the highway because they can. So I know we're still waiting for the clerk. Of course, she's got to find the one advertisement that we don't have hands on.
The application says 11, but I want to make sure that the advertisement's the most important, yeah.
The advertisement.
Because that's what we get people here.
I feel like we could have Jeopardy music or something for this. No, we're waiting for the advertisement to double check what was actually sent out.
The application clearly says 11. I just want to make sure the advertisement is consistent with the application, because that's what put people on notice.
Yeah. My apologies to everybody. Apparently this was in the vault, literally. Well, Mr. Solicitor, if it's all right with you, maybe we can just take out of order the, okay. All right, so we're going to put a hold on yours while the clerk locates the advertisement. You can hang right there, sit down, whatever your preference is. At this time, I guess we'll take the consent agenda. Would any members of the council like to remove anything from the consent agenda as listed? Councilor Janik.
4D1, 4D4.
Okay, any other members of the council?
4C2.
Any other members of the council? All right, hearing none, I'd like to entertain a motion to approve the consent agenda minus 4C2 and D1 and D4.
So moved.
Do I have a second? Second. Motion been made and seconded. All those in favor? Okay. Okay, Counselor Perry, since you're the first in order.
For C2, I have a question for the police chief. Looking through this, I see on injury duty, on 516, 529, 612, and 616, 96, 96, 72, and 24 hours of injury duty while they're on duty, or responding to whatever. What's going on? They're getting hurt?
What the injury was?
Yeah.
Excuse me 1 second.
It says injury on duty.
Mr. Solicitor.
So I've just been handed the abutters notice that went out to all the abutters, and the abutters notice clearly says 9 p.m. to 11 p.m. I know that the advertisement usually mirrors the abutters notice, so everyone who would have got notice in person through the mail would have gotten a letter saying from 9 p.m. to 11 p.m.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Solicitor. Let's round out the consent, and then we'll come right back to this. Chief.
So yes, one of the officers, after a scuffle at the casino, was injured, tried to come back to work, went back out, and then was able to come back in after being cleared from
So
the
that's what it was?
Yes, sir.
Okay. It just caught my eye, these guys are getting hurt.
I remembered what it was, I just couldn't remember the incident, and the captain just reminded me.
Okay. So, thank you very much.
Thank you, Chief. All right, Counselor Janik, D1 and D4.
D1, I'm looking for Mr. Spencer, the planner. I just have a question. This was a letter from a resident, and she had requested application files or larger plan sheets for a project that was going before technical review. Is that something that residents typically request, and do we process that for them?
You just hit the speaker there. Thank you, sir.
Typically, if it's something that's not a huge burden, we can do that. Otherwise, it'll be a information request.
Okay. So I'm not sure if it was a formal request, but I just want to allow people to know that if they need something, they have to do a formal request for,
It's a lot easier for us to track it that way.
and they can, okay. Thank you.
Thank you.
All right,
And then the other one-
D4, Counselor.
D4 is permission to film in Rhode Island, and it's on the consent agenda. Do we need to vote for this? Do we need to give them a permit?
So, Council, that's under my and Recreation's purview, but obviously I wanted to put it under correspondence and consent so you were aware, because that's going to take place at Grinnell's Beach. It's going to take place before the next council meeting. So,
filming, correct.
right, and they already have all the proper permits, all the requirements, but I just wanted to make the council aware.
Okay. I didn't know if we needed to vote on it. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Okay, I'd like to entertain a motion to accept C2, D1, and D4.
So moved.
Motion's been made by several, seconded by Counselor Perry. All those in favor? All right, so now we're back to the public hearing for Ms. Stubbs for the sound variance. Counselor Paul, I believe you were in the process, sir.
Do you know how many abutters that notice went out to? No, it's okay.
You know, it's
It goes out to-
I believe it's 200 feet from it, so a lot. Obviously, people who live in the condos.
And the ordinance is still in effect.
Sound ordinance is always in effect.
So I make a motion to approve the sound variance for the wedding at 227 Schooner on September 13th, 2026, from 6 p.m. to 11 p.m. as advertised, with hopefully some type of, try to keep it down when it gets later.
Be respectful.
I'll second that for discussion.
Counselor Perry.
We seem to have a lot of weddings that go on at the boathouse, and I think there's a need to have a discussion with the representatives from the boathouse. And maybe we can, when they're booking these weddings, they can tell these people to try to keep it down to 10 o'clock instead of booking them until 11 o'clock. Maybe we can have that discussion with them to keep the venues, instead of 6 to 11, maybe cut it down to 10 o'clock. so we can get it in advance and them not have to come here and we try to talk them down to a 10 o'clock engagement instead of 11 o'clock engagement.
I would also add that it's been in front of this body, and again, this is not in any way, shape, or form your fault. But it's been in front of this body numerous times over the years, whether it be at the boathouse or whether it be at events at a certain facility in the industrial park, that it really should be the facility that's asking for the variance and not the person who's trying to put on the event. So maybe we can communicate to the boathouse that if weddings are in their plan, and I believe each council policy is that, 5 special events per year, Madam Clerk? It's, okay.
Depends what the business is.
But this is certainly something that we need to look at, because I do have sympathy for the residents in the villages, but I also do have sympathy for the applicant, because this is a once-in-a-lifetime experience, and obviously we want it to go well for you and last forever. So, that being said, any further discussion? Councilor Janik, anything to add?
No, I actually agree with what you both are saying. I think we need to look at it further.
Okay. So with that, all those in favor? Okay, unopposed. Congratulations in advance.
Thank you.
We'll see you later.
All right, now let's move on to public comments. Madam Clerk, do you have the public comment sign-up sheet by chance?
We're going to do public comment before DM.
Dear God, okay. After this? Okay. All right. Do DM first. Okay. All right. So I do notice that on here there are a number of people who have public comments related to water contamination. We are lucky enough to have representatives from the Rhode Island DEM in the House to speak to us originally for the Chase Marina property, but I'm sure they'll be prepared to talk a little bit about what's going on with the water contamination. And so without objection, I'd like to take 8A out of order, and then we'll hopefully answer some questions for those who have comments about the water contamination in town. Any objection? No? Okay. Mr. Director. All right. Thank you. I'm trying to be as efficient with everyone's time as possible here.
All right, good evening. Thank you, Mr. President, members of the council, Mr. Town Administrator. Thank you for the opportunity to come by this evening. Originally, we had set this up to really kind of talk about the Chase Marina project, which is something that we're very excited about and we think can be configured to be a win-win for both the state and the town when it comes together. We've done a lot of groundwork. We've been working with the Harbor Commission. We've been working with the Planning Commission. We've tried to address a lot of comments that have come up. Deputy Director Jason McNamee will walk through a quick presentation on this and talk a little bit about Chase. And then once we finish with that, I can give you kind of a high-level discussion on the groundwater contamination that we found in the town. But really, I'm going to have to defer a lot of the specific discussions because I'm sure a lot of your residents have very targeted questions about how it impacts their individual properties and individual homes to a public meeting that we're going to be setting up between not only my team at DEM but the health department as well. Okay. And that'll be set up in the very near future. It'll be in a way that will allow interaction with all the people that have questions and want to get more into the specific details of exactly what we're experiencing down here.
Okay. Thank you, Mr. Director. And if time would allow, obviously we're going to do public comments immediately following this. If you would be so generous with your time as to stick around and just hear some of the questions, maybe we can get some answers out to those specific residents following this meeting.
I can definitely stick around and listen to the questions. I'm not sure I have all the answers. I think a lot of those are really with my technical team on that and with the health department technical team. My focus has been really on setting up funding for the town to get the ultimate solution, which is a water line extension set up. And like I've mentioned before, we have a short-term solution and then a long-term solution, and really both are targeted on getting safe drinking water to everybody in town.
Yeah, I was just
this
suggesting,
impacted area.
because I'm sure maybe there's some information that you could glean where a member of the technical team could reach out to
Yes,
those residents.
absolutely.
Before we have the public meeting.
Okay.
Yeah, thank you, sir.
Sounds good. I'm going to turn it over to Deputy Director McNamee to talk a little bit about Chase now.
Okay, thank you. Deputy Director, take it away.
Thank you very much, Mr. President. Thank you, Council, for the time. I have a presentation here. I hope this works. Hey, it worked.
Hey, go technology.
Once in a while.
You can thank the town administrator. He took care of all that for us.
Great. So this is a presentation on Chase Marina, and it covers a lot of background stuff. I'll try to keep it as short as possible, and then it also gives you a little bit of the current state with some of the, like the lease and things like that. So this is just a quick slide on what we'll cover there. All right, so starting off with some background, I think many in the room know this better than I do, but this property started off, it was condemned, I think is the technical term, by the Department of Transportation. They used it when they built the new Secana River Bridge. So that was the point of the acquisition by DOT. The process for state agencies when they're going to relinquish a property is they put a call out to other state agencies first to see if there's interest from another state agency. So when we received word about this property, we identified it as a key asset. It was aligned with many of the items in our strategic plan, and so the sub-bullets up on the slide there, those are directly from our strategic plan. And just to highlight some of the items in there are things like promoting local seafood, evaluating barriers for fishers to get that seafood out to market and to keep it in Rhode Island. And we also have a bullet in there about resiliency, and so I'll talk to you on a subsequent slide about some of the resilient items that we're kind of building into the property. So we took acquisition of the property back in 2021, October 2021. Just to give you a little bit of background about DEM and why we might be, wanting to manage a marina, we actually do this routinely. So DEM manages and operates piers and facilities for marine fishing all throughout the state. In Narragansett, we have the Port of Galilee, or Point Judah, some people call it. We have State Pier number 5, which is Monahan's dock over there in Narragansett. We have another similar structure called State Pier number 4, that's over in Jerusalem. And then Pier 9 in Newport, that's also DEM property. So across all of those properties, we roughly manage about 300 commercial and party and charter vessels across those properties. So we have good background. We know how to do this sort of thing. We've been doing it for a while. Just a bullet or two about commercial fishing. I won't belabor all of that. I'll certainly make this presentation available to the council if you want to dig back into these stats. But the reason for putting this up there is I don't know that a lot of people understand the magnitude of the economic driver that commercial fishing is in the state. I think many people think it's sort of boutique and small, but it's actually pretty big, and it's an important industry in the state, and that's what those stats are about up there. Just another note, we have existing rules and regulations for port management, and so we can work collaboratively with the town to customize those for Chase. So, what we would do is build a set of regulations specific for Chase that meet the needs of the town, and we'll work with you on that. So Rhode Island DEM has some goals for working waterfronts in the state. We are the ocean state. We have a proud tradition of working waterfronts. We participate in the blue economy in a number of different ways, but that includes the tradition of fishing, and that tradition also holds here in the town of Tiverton. You have a long history of commercial fishing in this town. There is a significant need for berthing in the state, especially in the East Bay, and in particular for commercial fishing. And there was a really good article on this back in 2025 put out by the Providence Journal. So I encourage folks to hunt that down online and take a look. But suffice it to say that there's a lot of pressure on marinas to bring in higher-end yachts and things like that. And so in a lot of the places where our commercial fishing industry used to exist, they're being pushed out of those areas. And the areas that are managed by the state now are some of the last bastions of these important commercial fishing working waterfronts. The expectation for the types of vessels at Chase are what we call inshore day boats. So these aren't giant industrial trawlers that we're talking about here. They're going to be smaller shellfish harvesters, small trawl vessels, and we anticipate a pretty good diversity of small to mid-sized boats at the marina. So a few more of our goals. We want to, at DEM, we want to enhance that water-dependent business interest in the area, including Tiverton, but all throughout the state. We want to improve public access to the Sakonnet River. We want to provide berthing and job opportunities for the state's fishing industry, and we want to boost the local economy here in Tiverton and preserve with our holding here that mix of, we know there's lots of residential, but you also have maritime facilities in the state, and this helps preserve that.
Can I ask a quick question?
Sure.
Never mind. There's the answer.
Yeah, a few more slides.
Continue.
Yeah. So just specifically now about the marina development. So we intend to install new fixed and floating piers, and those fixed and floating piers will support up to 17 commercial fishing vessels. We also characterize party and charter vessels as commercial fishing vessels as well, and so those would be there as well as long as there's vacancies available. A pump-out location is something else that we are planning for the site. That would be a pump-out location for the Tiverton pump-out vessel, and that came from a lot of our discussions that we have had with the Harbor Commission. That request came from them, and we built that into our plan. We will make the area look nice. So if you get a chance to go down to Galilee anytime in the near future and take a look around, what you'll see are we have these nautical timber pile fencing areas around some of the lots, and it just gives it that nice nautical look to the area, and we would try to keep that aesthetic appeal up here as well. Designs and elevations for the site are selected to withstand a 100-year storm event, so that's that resiliency aspect to the project that we're envisioning. And we will make landside improvements to increase parking to address the town's concerns. So throughout the interactions that we've had with the town, with the Harbor Commission, and the Planning Board, we've heard those concerns about parking and have some plans for that. A little bit about the current status of that marina, and sorry, I should have mentioned this, but I've split this up into two sections. So marina, I'm talking about the actual marina, so the water side structures, and then I've got a couple slides on the building. So I'm keeping them separate to keep things tractable here. So on the marina development, the timeline, construction for what I just mentioned is estimated to take about 9 to 12 months. So once we start, we're looking at, roughly a year to get that into fighting shape there. The cost is right around $2 to4 million. We have a couple of our permits that are needed. CRMC, that assent was granted. It was a 5 out of 5 vote on that, and the Tiverton Harbor Commission provided a letter of support for that hearing. We also have an approved Army Corps of Engineers permit as well, and both of the permit numbers are on there in case somebody wanted to look them up. And so our next steps with respect to the marina is to finalize an EDA application. I'll talk more about that in a minute, and including defining what EDA is, which I can't remember off the top of my head. But we're doing an EDA application, and then we'll do an RFP for construction once we have that funding kind of locked up. Parking, we know that's been an important topic, so we wanted to hit on that. There are 18 parking spots for marina berth holders. So this is specifically, if you look up at the picture, I don't know if I can get my cursor up there or not, but this is the area that is already on the property. That's kind of, I think it used to be a parking area. That's what we're talking about there. So that's 18 parking spots for the marina and berth holders. But we also anticipate entering into an agreement with the Rhode Island Bridge and Turnpike Authority for parking and maintenance and enforcement in the area. So they hold a lot of property in that area as well. And so what we have talked to them about is going into an agreement with them and basically taking over the maintenance. Since we'll be on site, it'll be at least partially our property. We can help maintain, for instance, the boat ramp and things like that. And we're open to reconfiguration to better utilize the space, and that includes the space around the boat ramp, across the street. We've talked about all of those areas. Just a quick note on the EDA funding. So that's the Economic Development Administration. I was going to mix up those words, so that's the correct acronym there. So we are seeking investment from the EDA for a marina and facility development, so for both the marina and the building. This will be for finfish and shellfish harvesters, aquaculturists, retail, restaurant, all of those types of things that we're talking about for this property are fair game for that EDA grant. The proposal focuses on job creation, economic growth and stability, workforce development, and food security. So that's kind of the focus of the application that we're putting in, and there's a final bullet there about our eligibility, which we think is pretty good for this grant. We've been working on that application for a little while now. Okay, so now moving from the marina to the building, and we'll give you a little background on the lease. So first, to start off, I'll give you a little bit of the history. We started off back in 2022 with an RFI, that's a request for information. So this is just putting the property out and asking for ideas of what people might like to see done with the property or uses they might have for it. We got 20 responses from that RFI. So from that RFI, we took the information that we received and cobbled it into then an RFP. That was issued in 2025. That gets issued by the Rhode Island Department of Administration, specifically the Division of Purchases at DOA. And so that RFP was for the use and management of the building in Tiverton, and that was all advertised publicly on the state website per the normal RFP process that we follow. We didn't get too many responses to that. I believe there were only 2. Of the 2, the Doom brothers received the highest score. For folks who aren't familiar, they run a food truck is how they started, actually, but they have a restaurant facility as well, and they do seafood, kind of ocean to plate type of a setup for them. The Tiverton Harbor Commission reviewed the proposals, and they supported the Dune Brothers application as the selected vendor. So my point of continuing to bring up the Harbor Commission is we were in close communication with them. That was the advice of the previous town administrator, not Mr. Jones, but his predecessor. And so we were following that guidance, and that's who we were communicating with, predominantly at the beginning.
Can I ask just a follow-up question on that? Sure. So, where was the RFP published? And the reason I ask is because it sounds like you put out an RFP, you only got 2 responses. I mean, we have a number of restaurants in town that deal in seafood, and obviously myself, our state representative, we found out about this when the bid was awarded in the Secana Times, which kudos to the Secana Times for their great reporting, but it doesn't seem like there was much communication from DEM towards us here. Maybe it went to the Harbor Commission and they just never surfaced it to the town council. I'm just a little curious on that.
Yeah,
process.
no, it's a good question. So the process is pretty rigid for a state entity to put these RFPs out, and we don't actually even issue it. We give the information, we put it together, but then it's the Department of Administration that issues it. And I guess it's, I'm not an expert on these sorts of things, but I think the point is to avoid conflicts. It's pretty rigid as far as who can do the communication and how that communication happens. So, we followed the process, and a lot of that process isn't actually even done by us.
Mr. President, just to answer the question, though, when the RFP was issued, it's issued by DOA, and like Jason said, it's kind of a lockdown process, but once it's out there, we can inform people that the opportunity is available, and we did that through the Harbor Commission.
Got it.
How much they distributed that in town, I don't know, but they definitely knew the RFP was out there.
Okay. So it sounds like my beef is with the DOA and not you guys.
Potentially, yeah. I'm not an expert on that either. Okay. Specifically about the Dune Brothers lease status, now a couple of bullets for you. We received a preliminary approval to enter lease negotiations, and we received that from the State Properties Committee, and that happened on October 14th in 2025. Just to boil that down, that's not the lease itself, that's just the State Properties Committee telling us that we can move forward with working with the chosen vendor to start to put the lease together and the parameters of the lease. The SPC, it's a public body, it's administered by DOA. Again, they review and approve all leases, license agreements, acquisitions, and conveyances of state property. So that's a normal part of the process that we undertake. We're there quite frequently in front of that committee. We are currently in these lease negotiations with Dune Brothers to kind of iron out the details of the lease. And then the next steps, once we get that ironed out with them, is to go back before the SPC again and to seek final approval. So they will actually review the lease itself, all of the parameters in the lease, and then approve it or not at that point. And then once that happens, we believe the renovations that Dune Brothers envisions for the site will take about 18 months. So there's about a little more than a year there. What the lease is, it's a 10-year lease with an option to renew for an additional 10 years. The building renovations, they will be managed and funded by Dune Brothers, so that won't be on the state's dime. What we do intend to do is with the EDA grant is to kind of get it into, clean up the envelope, get it into shape for them to come in and then make whatever renovations they want to make for the restaurant. Loading, unloading, storing seafood products, not processing. This is a term that's come up and has rankled some folks, and it's just parlance that we use. I've worked in marine fisheries for 25 years that I've been at DEM, and we basically refer to seafood dealers. We just call them processors, because some of them do process, but that's not what we're talking about here. So it's all we're looking at this facility is to facilitate offloading from fishing boats and to upgrade some existing walk-in cooler and freezer. They want to add an ice machine so that the boats can get some ice on site. That's an important infrastructure for commercial fishing. It's one of the reasons why Galilee is so important, because they have ice-producing facilities down there. And then storage for fish boxes. For the types of equipment, it's not a big, not a big facility, so forklifts and electric pallet jacks, and not many of those. That's all you'll see on the site for on-site equipment. They intend to have a retail seafood market on site, very small. Think of something like Champlin's down in Galilee, where they have just a window with some iced fish that people can buy. And then the main event for the site will be the restaurant. They believe they can seat 45 to 50 guests indoors with an additional 30 patio seats. We will exclude a small section for operation of the marina and its regulation, monitoring, security. It may include a part-time DEM coastal resources employee to manage the slips, and possibly a substation for an environmental police officer. So that was another thing that had caught folks' attention. Is I think folks are envisioning like a big state office. It's just a spot where somebody could come in, plug a laptop in. We need to be on site because we're managing the marina, and we may want to conduct a few items while on site, but we're not looking at a big state office on the site. So that is all I have for you tonight. Happy to field any questions that anyone might have.
Members of the council? Councilor Janik?
Are these for commercial boats only or private boats?
Yep, this will be specific to commercial boats, keeping in mind we consider party and charter boats. So those are people that take recreational fishers out, but they're a commercial business. They get paid to do that.
Right, but not private boats.
Correct.
Home, the boat owners in Tiverton on the Harbor Commission who talk to you, not their boats.
Correct.
Okay. So I am very concerned about parking in that area. You're talking about 80 potential seats inside and outside. It's a very narrow road. There's not a lot of parking there. The Tiverton Yacht Club is, when they're in full swing in the summer, it's really tight. A lot of the roads that go off that are really narrow too. So how many parking, and there's not parking. There really is not legitimate parking on that lot. I went down and took pictures, I believe in February. So we're not talking a lot of people. The yacht club didn't have people out, and there was snow. There wasn't a lot of parking available. So how many parking spaces do you anticipate, like kind of off-site in these parking lots that you have?
Yep. So we think with the property that the Bridge and Turnpike Authority has, I agree with you, like the piece of property that DEM will own has the 18 spaces, and that's basically it. So that's why we had to look to partner with the Bridge and Turnpike Authority for the rest of it. An exact number I don't have for you right now. We've been working with them. We've got the lot across the street, and then they have a bunch of other property in town in that area that they are willing to allow us to convert into parking. So we will do that design to make sure we have adequate parking.
So the lot across the street is used mainly for people right now with their trailers, and then they put their boats in the water there. Is that still allowable with your plan?
Absolutely, yeah. That is another mission of DEM. We have boat ramps, trailer parks, parking all throughout the state. So yes, that will still be a consideration.
Okay, because
Yep.
that's where they park after
Yep,
they
yep.
put their boats in. And then my last question is, have you been before our planning board?
We did, I can't remember the date. It was probably at least 6 months ago, if not longer. But we did go before the planning board.
All right, I'll check the minutes because I don't remember it, and I think I've been to every planning board meeting. So, thank you.
You're welcome.
Any other counselors? Counselor Perry?
That was my question, was the planning board. I just wanted to make sure all this goes before our planning board, correct?
It did, yes.
Now, I was just, with the parking spaces, I was just looking at it myself, and if you have 45 to 50 guests just in the restaurant part, I believe, and I was on the planning board, and I'm trying to remember, it's one spot per 2 people, so that would be 25 spots just for those guests in the restaurant that you would need.
Yep, I'll just offer, we think about this a lot with beach parking, and we use, it's a number from a study, it's 3.2 or something like
I'm
that.
sure you're on top of it, but you're going to need a lot of spots.
Agreed, yeah.
Counselor Paul?
Just going to piggyback on that, I was just down there recently on a beautiful Friday afternoon, and pretty much every spot across the street and that lot was packed, boats and trailers. So I don't know what you're going to do with parking, but that's for the planning board, I guess.
So I just have a follow-up question on the parking piece, because obviously this has come up before with the extension of Riverside Drive. You go underneath the old railroad bridge, and we've had residents that are upset because they personally can't find parking because you've got some, Airbnbs and stuff down there. So, in your opinion, would it make sense for us to consider sticker-only parking for that segment, just to protect the residents who have houses down there that already are having a tough time with parking? Not in front of where the space is, I mean down once you get underneath the bridge. I'd hate to see, somebody come home and they can't park their car in front of their house because, there's 150 people lined up to get Dune Brothers.
Yeah, so sorry, so you're talking about the town doing that
Yes.
in that area. Yeah, I mean, I think that makes a lot of sense. That would protect that area for the folks that live there.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Thank you. All right, now on to, I guess, the main event, Director. All right. Water contamination, what everybody here would like to hear about.
Thank you, Jason. And again, I honestly need to defer a lot of the specific questions and the technical questions to my team and to the health department team. And like I said, Mr. President, we will set up a public meeting to come down and meet with everybody and answer those specific questions. In the meantime, I wanted to give you a little background on how we got here, and I think that's important for context. One of the things that the Rhode Island General Assembly did is in 2022, they passed a law that did a few things. One of the things it did was set drinking water standards for 6 types of PFAS. Now, PFAS are a class of chemical. There's over 10,000 different types of PFAS, but there's 6 that are particularly of concern. And the legislature started with those, and they directed the health department to promulgate drinking water standards for these particular 6 compounds. The other thing that the law did is it directed DEM to do a statewide study of potential sources of PFAS contamination that could be out there. And we did that. We worked with Brown University. We worked with the Rhode Island Department of Health. And in 2023, we published a study that showed potential sites all over the state. And these included certain industries. They included certain landfills, old and licensed landfills. They also looked at different types of potential sources that were out there, including firefighter training areas and fire stations. And the reason why they showed up on our list as potential sources is because the foams that they use to fight special kinds of fires contain PFAS historically. Now, the industry's moved away from that, and nobody released this stuff on purpose to create a problem. This is something that is a a fairly recent type of issue that's come up, and it's still framed as what's called an emerging contaminant, which means the science is still under development for that. So we looked at that. There were 160 fire stations across Rhode Island in every single city and town, obviously, and we prioritized the ones where the residents around them did not have public water. So that was a kind of a way that we looked at that universe and kind of put it in a preliminary order, if you will. One of the things that came through after that report was done was the state, through the health department, received a very large grant from the EPA to look at emerging contaminants for small and disadvantaged communities. So in particular, small communities that the residents rely on private wells for drinking water. And we worked with the health department and the Rhode Island Infrastructure Bank to transfer a lot of that money over to DEM. And the reason we did that is because DEM has a history of helping people out with private wells. The health department really focuses a lot on public water supplies, but a lot of times people that are on private wells aren't fit really easily into that system. So we try and fill the gap as best we can, and what we do is we work backwards from potential sources, or we work outwards from potential sources, put it that way. So one of the things that happened, the way I understand it, in Tiverton is not only did we have a potential source on Crandall Road, but then we also had a community water system that was found by the health department to have contamination, and it's in a church in that same general area. So that kind of moved things up pretty quickly on the priority list, and our staff then started to contact residents in that area and see if we could take samples of their private wells. All of that's done voluntarily by the resident. We pay for it all, to the point we're finding exceedances of that standard that I talked about earlier. We're going to do two things. The first short-term action is we are going to pay for point-of-use treatment systems in any homeowner that has contamination that wants that system. And we've already started to work with some of the residents on what's known as pre-installment evaluations. It's kind of like a little design process to make sure that the right system goes in that can service those homes. It takes a little while to go through that, and I understand the town is now providing a source of public drinking water that people can access if they need it. We may be able to supplement that. I've talked to Mr. Jones about that a little bit. But it's something that's in the works. But the long-term solution is to look at the extension of public water. And I think that's something that I've been focusing on with these other agencies to make sure that the town gets funding for that, right? And it's something that we can use that emerging contaminant money or something similar to provide the financial support to get that water line extension done. Now, right now, at this point, sitting in front of you, I don't know how long that's going to be or how many service connections that's going to involve. That's what our staff is working on right now. So those are the type of questions that I don't have the answers to, but the work is definitely ongoing, and our number one goal is the same as yours, which is to get everybody in town on safe public water that's been impacted by this.
So, Mr. Director, quick question on that, because you mentioned getting dollars for the town, but obviously water in our town is provided by 2 fire districts, so assuming the dollars would flow to them, they would handle the construction, build-out, connections, all of that?
Yep.
Okay.
Yep, and we would
I just want to make sure there's no expectation, because obviously the town is not involved.
No, there's no expectation that the town pays for any of this, all right? I want to be very clear about that. That's something that we will work on with the water districts. We appreciate your help facilitating those discussions.
I'd be happy to.
We had a very similar situation in the Oakland neighborhood up in Burrville, and they're the same boat, right? They have the town government and they have different water districts, but the town was very helpful in terms of just facilitating those conversations and helping us get through that.
So another question for you here. Obviously, there's sort of a defined region that you guys are focused on testing in. not that I frequent Facebook for news information, but I did notice on Facebook there are residents that are outside of that area that have had water quality tests done that have found the same stuff. Like, we're talking miles away from this site. So, is it recommended that everybody who sits on well water get an up-to-date test? And is there a greater risk if a well is shallow versus deep? And
Yeah, that's an excellent question, and I think there's a couple of things to unpack there. First of all, so I think we got 33 separate requests for sampling over the weekend, and probably 50 within the last week. So my staff is going through each one of those, looking at the location, looking at the proximity, and really determining the likelihood that it's a connection, right? PFAS is a very tricky contaminant because it can come from a lot of places. It's not just related to landfills, firefighting, and industry. We've had schools that have been contaminated because of the floor wax that they use is got PFAS contaminants in it. So it's something that we don't rule out, but we really carefully look at connectivity because there may be more than one source, right?
And that was my follow-up point.
Yeah.
I mean, we have numerous junkyards in this town. We have, I don't know if it's been capped, but we have an uncapped Firestone, or at least last, to my knowledge, an uncapped Firestone landfill. So there's a number of different potential sources. And so, my hope would be that we're going to start seeing expanded testing across the areas, because I know you focused in on one area because, hey, there's a fire station nearby, but it seems like we're starting to see people who are completely and totally removed from that area that are seeing, water quality tests come back.
100%.
And the vast majority of the south end of this town was all farms at one point. So
I think the key word that we focus on is that proximity. And it doesn't necessarily have to be proximity to this source. So as we get information, we want to kind of map out and see, all right, what's the connection? What are the connections here? We don't have enough money to sample everybody's well, but we do have a substantial amount of money to take care of the people that we think are our nearest suspected source or a potential source.
yeah, what's the cost if, again, I don't live near the specific source, but I'm on well water, so if I wanted to get mine tested, is there a cost to me if I call you guys up?
I'm not sure. I've heard that it's around $200.
Okay.
But that might be wrong. So that's a question for the health department because they run the samples, they run the lab.
Got it.
But we can work with them on that.
And again, the reason I asked is because I know somebody mentioned that they spent almost $700 to get their well tested. So just want to make sure we're getting the right.
Yeah, you
got
got
there.
So that's the type of thing that I think it makes sense to talk to the staff, the technical staff too, so nobody gets taken for a ride, to be honest with you.
Okay.
I mean, you can, you go into a laboratory and you ask, what can I get for this? And they say, well, how much do you have, right? I mean, it's one of those type of things where you can spend a lot of money for a lab and get way more information that you need. So really work with the health department, work with my team, and they'll tell you, how to really focus, to be honest with you.
Yeah, thank you. Any other questions?
John?
Counselor Perry.
I'm hearing that it takes a month to get these test results back. Is there any way to expedite these tests to get them back quick?
We can try. There's a lot of testing going on right now. So it's a capacity issue with the health department lab. We will do as best we can. One of the things they do is not only just run them through the machines, but they also verify it.
Right.
So, they want to give you an answer, but they also want to give you an accurate answer.
Correct.
And that takes a little time.
Okay. Could you get a false positive?
Theoretically, but that's some of the validation that goes into a laboratory test. They try and come up with the likelihood that it's a false positive or a false negative in its
Right.
way. Yeah. It builds confidence in the result, in other words.
Okay. Thank you.
Counselor Paul?
Yes, thank you, Director. Most of my questions were answered. One of them that was answered already, I want to circle back to on the proximity to the namely contaminated area. I'm hearing from a lot of residents, there's been a lot of anger, there's been a lot of confusion, rightfully so. Communication hasn't been great, but I do want to say also that what are the chances that this area can be expanded? We're hearing that there's a house further down in Tiverton, South Lake, that tested positive. he tested on his own versus that particular area.
Well, like I said, it might not be related to the same source, or it may be related to the same source. Council President made a great point. As well as at different depths, I don't know that data off the top of my head tonight, but that's something that my team can look at and assess the likelihood of that connection.
The only other thing I'll add is the timeline on getting results. I think that being at the director level, you have some access to the governor. I'm sure he's aware of this. Is there a way to get allocation of resources to the Department of Health to get this testing expedited? I mean, there's people here right now that are waiting on test results that, you know, it's kind of, this seems to me to be a little bit more of an emergency than the state's treating it.
Yeah, I will check on that. That's a good point. I mean, the turnaround time is important to get a fast response, and that not only goes with the turnaround time for the initial sampling, but there's going to be subsequent sampling to design the filter systems and that type of thing. So there's going to be a lot of work that's going on, and you know, we're prepared to do that. We're prepared to pay for that. It's just a question of managing the workload.
I just think that more allocation of resources at this point, it needs to be pressed some way, somehow.
So, Mr. Director, and I'm sure Councilor Janik, you have something to say or questions to ask. Yeah. But just to get it out there, so if somebody does have a question and they call this gentleman to my left here and say, what do I do? What is he telling them? We're calling Kirsten Nunn, is that correct?
Yeah, Kirsten Nunn is our lead on this project, and to be honest with you, she's excellent. She's done this work before. She knows a lot about PFAS. She works for Nick Nunes, who is also our state expert in PFAS issues. Nick was the key point person on the Burrillville response, so this is not his first situation that he's been involved with. I think you start with those two. They're on the point, right? But Pat, you know how to get in touch with me as well, so that's important.
Thank you, Director. And I know you and your team have been responsive. And just, again, not to put you on the spot, Director, but I know a lot of people in the room have also made allegations against the town, that we've known about this for months. And I know through your legislative liaison and through you and I speaking, I mean, that public water system on Crandall Road, which is Victory Church, got tested in May.
Right.
And with that timeline of several weeks to a month, that brought us into June. And then that's when your team started expanding out and asking those residents, because it was the residents who approached us to ask us, you know, to tell us that you guys were in town, is what's going on. And then we had that first meeting, it was July 1st. And then since July 1st, I've spoken to members of your team weekly, if not daily. And I think that's also a credit to the response from the residents, who are now, in a good way, inundating your office with requests so we can get this public, so we can get their tests. And also so we can get them on that first phase that you described, that water filtration system. And I know during our last meeting with the council and to the public, you know, our building department's working with your installers so we can expedite all the building permits, so there's no red tape, so to speak. You know, we obviously want to do things right and check all the boxes, but if you designate a resident who's impacted and your contract goes out there to install it, we can get that installed as soon as possible. And then the last thing I know, when we spoke also, we do have the public water source up at Station 3, but also you have the contract with Poland Springs, and you would offer to come in with more bottled water if possible.
Well, we're working on that. We're working on that. The contract is not in place, but we're working on it kind of as an emergency purchase order to see how we can supplement that for folks in town if that's what they would be more comfortable with.
And I think just given as many options as we can, and I'm glad, sir, that you led off with scheduling that public meeting, and I'm working with your team, because obviously I'm sure a majority of the people here tonight, you know, wanted to hear from us and from you to kind of reassure them that we're moving in a positive direction to try and address this issue, because they're scared and they have a right to be. And we want to put their mind at ease and give them as many answers, factual answers, that we possibly can.
And just to clarify, they're calling 401-222-7746?
Yes.
Okay. 401-222-7746. Okay. Councilor Janik.
And that, I just want to add that The timeline that Mr. Jones outlined is exactly what we had. You know, the sampling began in mid-May. We got the results in mid-June. We started to notify the homeowners because there's kind of a, you know, a chicken and an egg thing there, right? You want to let the people know what's going on in their house before it becomes public on a broader level, but that happened quickly, right? As soon as people found out, then they started to bringing it to you, and then I think we got in sync. And one of the reasons I'm here is to make sure that at our level, we're in sync, and not only on the PFAS issue, but also on Chase Marina, to make sure that if any of you have any issues, that you're in touch with the senior leadership team at DEM, and we have good lines of communication.
And I know the deputy director was there, and then they went to the state planning board. But I think now with our new planner on board and with the current planning team of the planning board, I think it'd be something that we'll talk about offline about bringing you folks back in, because I know many of the members of the planning board are in the room tonight. So I think it'd be important to have a presentation that's geared towards them and the Harbor Commission to address some of their concerns and give them the opportunity to ask questions as well.
Just for your reference, Susan Forcier is the Deputy Director for Environmental Protection. So that's not under Jason's purview. The PFAS response dealing with environmental contamination is under Susan's purview, and she is on this. She is all over it, and you know, we will keep in touch at that level.
Thanks, sir.
Is that the person who our residents should be calling?
They should be talking to Kirsten Nunn.
Kirsten?
Yes.
Okay.
And she's the one that's been getting most of the requests, I think, from the residents for either additional sampling or questions and answers on the site.
Good, because it's important that they get the same answers. And I think and I'm glad you're here, and we can try to rectify this, but if they're not all getting the same answer, they're calling and this person gives them this, and it causes confusion, and if we're not communicating and we're getting panic in the town, that's not a good thing either. We need to solve this and solve it smartly.
And I want to be careful, because the words matter in this stuff, and when I'm talking about landfills and fire stations and airports and they're potential sources. We don't know if something's a source, an actual source, until we get data on that site. So even in this case, we don't have any data on the fire station. We're just looking at that as a potential source in proximity to the impacts that we're seeing in the community.
So
and that sometimes gets lost in the conversations. So
that absolutely did get lost in the conversation. So I'm assuming as you test that you're mapping it and, you know, kind of pinning where the levels are, where they're highest, so that maybe we can start to expand out from that little circle, so that, and maybe it's not from the same contaminant, but so that we're getting people, because we do have a large portion of our town on wells.
Yeah.
So we want to make sure that all of the drinking water is safe. And just one other word. When we were in COVID, the DPH was able to, Department of Public Health was able to expedite testing results. I think we need to go to that level again, and because this is really important.
Yeah, I hear you loud and clear. I will talk to the health department tomorrow.
Thank you.
I believe the director from health is a resident down here, isn't he? So I will talk to him. Yes.
I think he's done well, too.
All right.
If not, he's going to get some well water.
So.
Any other questions for the director and deputy director?
I will just add that one of the things that came up tonight was that map that you talked about is not only two-dimensional, but it's three-dimensional, and you're absolutely right. Depth matters, and we, you know, my staff looks at that stuff. I just don't have that data.
Thank you. Mr. Director, if we have two people who wanted to talk about water contamination, they're the first two on here, if you wouldn't mind just sticking around and listen to them.
I'm not sure I can answer any questions.
No. I just want to make sure you at least hear
will
the
listen
concerns.
to the concerns that are brought up. Thank you.
And hopefully that'll be advantageous for your team. Okay. Thank you.
All right. Thank you. I'll stand off to the side.
Thank you, sir.
And we'll
Assistant Director, thank you. All right, so since we're jumping around all evening tonight, I'd like to get back on track here, and we have public comments. So the first up, we have Michelle Reffert, or Rafit. I'm terrible at reading cursive, so my apologies.
So sorry.
And just name and address for the record, please.
Michelle Raffelt, 19 Cahill Ave. So I'm just going to give you a little history on my situation in town. In 1990, my first husband and I were looking for our first house so that we could begin our life together. We decided to purchase our house on Cahill Avenue, which we renovated and made into our forever home. Welcomed our first child in 93 and our second in 96. We were young, life was busy, we were very involved with our children's lives, sports, dance classes, scouts, hosting parties, watching the kids develop friendships that would last years. My daughter was the very best friend of Megan Cadero. I believe most, if not all of you know of the Cadero family and their story. The day we were told of Megan's diagnosis will be one we'll never forget. The fear, the devastation, anger, hope that she would win her battle all rolled into one. A couple of short months later, my family received their own horrendous news. My 37-year-old husband was diagnosed with cancer, which originated in his liver. We spent many hours at Rhode Island Hospital where he received treatments for his cancer, and many times I would bring my daughter with us to the hospital and walk her over to Megan's hospital room to spend the day with her while her father was getting chemotherapy. Neither of them won their battle. My husband died less than a year from diagnosis, and Megan died a short 3 months later. 18 years have passed since that traumatic time in our lives, and neither one of them have been far from our thoughts, memories, the heartache, at the milestones in life that they have missed out on, graduations, successes in life, marriages, the birth of children, all missed. When I received the letter from DEM, in April is when I received my letter. They were asking for permission to come to our house and take a water sample. I immediately filled out the paperwork because I live right next to an old gas station on Crandall Road. So I thought maybe an underground tank leaked. I have no idea what it could possibly be, but I was going to sign up for the testing. There was no reason not to. It was no cost to me. I didn't have to be home. They just needed my permission. Granted. They took the sample on May 26th. Honestly, I forgot all about it. It had been weeks, and I just forgot that they came and took the sample, and I received a voicemail from Kirsten asking me to call her as soon as possible. So I immediately called her. She told us that our well was contaminated and that we needed to stop consuming the water, which meant no drinking, can't brush our teeth, can't cook with it, because that was my first question. Can I boil the water? And she said no, that concentrates the chemical, so you cannot even boil your water. No consumption at all. I asked if the contamination was from the gas station, and she said no, the fire station. So I was numb. I immediately started going down the Google wormhole to find out what the health effects of PFAS were. Imagine my shock. One of the main cancers is cancer of the liver. Now, I don't know if PFAS in my water could have caused my late husband's cancer. However, that I started connecting dots. Of the 5 houses on my street, 4 have had a death from cancer. What are the odds? I don't know. I mean, I don't know if there's a connection, but I started thinking about all of the time Megan spent at my house. Could it have been my water? Another health effect, digestive issues. Both of my kids have digestive issues. Thyroid issue right here. According to Kirsten at DEM, the fire station stopped using PFAS foam in 2010. My husband died in 2008. So he would go to Rhode Island Hospital and spend the entire day getting treated for cancer and come home and drink the water. That's what's going through my head. It's mind-blowing, and it's just unacceptable. And while I was processing this information, I had hoped, I thought, I expected that I would have heard from the town. That I would have heard that the town was reaching out to the residents. Kirsten told me the town was notified the week of June 16th. That's when I was told. That's what I was told, and others were told. I thought for sure I would hear something. some kind of offer to come to town hall and get some bottled water, some kind of support. Not a word. I kept checking the town website, nothing. No emergency alert about well contamination and making sure you get tested. There was an emergency alert that came through at one point, and I thought, finally. No, it was a boil water alert for those with town water. My first thought was, what about us? We can't boil our water. We saw a couple of neighbors and asked if they had their results yet. They received the letter but forgot about it. Didn't have their water tested. Maybe if the town had sent out some sort of notice, a letter to the residents, emergency alert, notifying people to get tested if you're in the Crandall Road area, people would have realized the importance of having their water tested. The more time that passed, the angrier I became. How could the town just ignore this issue? How could the town not be supportive of its residents, its taxpayers? There was a Facebook post on Tiverton Happenings that said Channel 12 was interviewing a resident with a contaminated well. That very day, the town issued the press release. Was it because they needed to, because they now knew the media had been alerted? There should have been community meetings set up, which I now know that is in process. Should have had some preliminary plans, some community support, something. I guarantee you, you will have volunteers from those of us that are affected. I started a Facebook page for those of us with contaminated wells because of the insensitive comments that I was seeing on Facebook. I was asked by a counselor. He told me that he had searched for my group, and I said no town council members are going to be admitted to my page. It's more of a support group for us. It's a virtual support group where we can share information. Test results are in. Our water treatment system is in. Mine has been installed. It was installed on Thursday. But you know what? I'm still afraid to drink the water. I don't know if it's working. They took a sample. I don't know when the test result will come to say my water is good to drink. I'm scared. I know other residents with contaminated wells are scared. So what are we going to do? Are we going to send out notice to those that don't even know that this meeting is happening, don't know that PFAS is being discussed here, still thought that that was a scam letter and threw it in the trash and haven't tested? We talked to somebody this past weekend. He's like, I'm fine. I have a filter on my refrigerator. I didn't get my water tested. You need to. Everybody on our street is contaminated. You don't know how the water flows underground. The whole town should be tested. And I know you're looking into that aspect. But people are just concerned about, we're told we can shower, we're told we can wash our dishes, but can we really? Can we really shower in this water? There are a lot of concerns right now, and I think we just need to get the group together, those that are affected by this, and appease, give us some support, give us some feel-good information that is going to help us get through this. I just think that we need to do better. We need to do better for the residents and show us that you care about us. That's all. I just want to see if you can get the alerts out to people. I'm concerned about our residents that haven't even taken that step to get tested and aren't aware that it's important. So, thank you.
Thank you.
Next up, we have Teresa Cadiro. Same topic. Ms. Cadiro.
Do you need my address?
Name and address, please.
Teresa Cadiro, 19 Blueberry Lane. I've lived in this town my entire life. I love Tiverton and have never wanted to live anywhere else. I have raised my family here, and now I am helping my daughters raise their families. I have been through the worst heartache a parent could possibly experience, which is the loss of our child. My town stood by my family 100% during her illness, her passing, and our continued fundraising for her Memorial Foundation. You have helped us get through the most difficult times in our lives, and I will always be grateful for that support forever. One of the first questions the oncologist asked when Megan was diagnosed was if she had been around any type of toxins, carcinogens, bad stuff like that. You see, AML isn't a common childhood leukemia. Of course, we said no. We live in a safe, clean town called Tiverton. So when I found out that Megan's very best friend's well was contaminated, let's just say my family isn't in a very good place right now, I immediately contacted DEM and was told that I was out of the testing area. We then took it upon ourselves to have our well tested, and almost 3 weeks later were notified by DEM of our results. A huge weight was lifted when our results came back showing no PFAS. After all, I've been feeding that well water to my 4 grandchildren daily for the last 4 years. I first contacted DEM on June 15th and was told during that phone call that DEM was contacting the town as soon as my phone call was over with Kristen. When by July 16th, there had still been no word of any of this well water contamination, I could no longer sit and do nothing, which prompted my Facebook post on Tiverton Happenings. And I don't know if you people follow Tiverton Happenings, but it was my first and probably my last post. It's not someplace I enjoy being on. A post that seemed to have reached many Tiverton residents in the Crandall Road area who knew nothing about this. Nothing. My town of Tiverton, who is supposed to keep us safe, has failed us miserably. You allowed your residents to continue drinking and cooking with water that was possibly contaminated. Everyone in this area of town should have been given the opportunity to have their wells tested immediately, not over a month later. If any of you sitting up there right now would be good letting any of your children or grandchildren continue to drink this water that could possibly be contaminated, speak now. Any of you? So do you get our concern? Just say yes. That's all you have to say.
Absolutely.
You still have not sent any notification to us. It's not just the contaminated area. What if a half mile out, someone's got a contaminated well? Okay, DEM isn't going to pay for it right now, but give us the opportunity. Give those residents the opportunity to know what's going on and to have it tested for themselves. That's what I just totally don't understand. Why we've gotten to this point, that you had a month and nothing was a letter. Do you need money for postage? I'll give you a donation. I don't get it. I just don't. Today, I got a robo message or whatever saying that your North Tiverton, you have another leak in your line, or there's a little tinge of a different color in your water. And this is happening to us? I listened to comments from a few of the council members last meeting regarding the Facebook post and how you all do care about us. Honestly, I have to beg to differ, or we wouldn't be standing here right now. No matter what DEM has told you, you all as town officials have a very big responsibility of letting us know of danger, especially when it concerns the health of our families, our kids. Your residents trust that you will keep us safe and informed when need be. How incredibly disappointing. My goal is that I don't ever want another family to go through the heartache that my family deals with daily. PFAS cause cancer, and you need to do better. So I have 2 questions for you. And the first question is, how confident are you that everyone has been notified, especially in the contaminated area? Are you totally 100% confident?
Not in the slightest.
Then why? Why haven't we gotten a letter? Put a letter in the mail. Send it to that whole end of town. No answer? Why hasn't that been done? The elderly are on Facebook. The elderly are on computers. My parents didn't know this was going on. I don't get it. Absolutely no excuse, none. And how much longer are we going to wait to send at least a letter to the residents that are further out on Crandall Road so they can make their own decision as to whether or not they want to have their well tested? And it is $200. I don't know if you were talking about how I said it was $695. We had our whole, we did like a 10-year thing. We added a bunch of things in that. The PFAS test is $200. There are some people that can't afford that. So I just think, Just take care of your residents, show us that you care, and the contamination isn't their fault. And that's that.
Thank you. All right, next up we have Patty Buchanan for flock cameras.
Well, we're jumping topic.
Yes, we are.
So I know that this issue's been bantered around and jumped around, and I want to start by saying I fully support our police. Last time we had a meeting, there was a comment about, well, do you want crimes taken care of, or do you want to give up your freedoms? I support our police, but I do not support this flock company. And I brought in examples of 5 different locations since the last meeting that have severed their contract with Flock in particular. The one statement was, Flock safety has been under particular scrutiny due to their lack of transparency, data ownership, data sharing policies, and cybersecurity vulnerabilities. So my issue is that we as citizens are not protected. I know we had a lovely conversation with the chief after the last meeting, and he said, yes, but the data's deleted every 30 days. But our town is not in charge of that. Flock is. You guys have no control over them actually doing what they say they're committed to doing. Evidence shows that they're not deleting data appropriately. So we have LA, we have the city of Newport, Kentucky, we have Salem, Massachusetts. Those are 3 of the companies that are severing their relationship with Flock because of data concerns. A number of agencies said it's a great service to our town to help us fight crime, which I don't disagree with, but they can't justify the data being sold to the crime fighting. And look, if we're talking LA, they get way more crime than we do here, okay? They've severed their contract. The last one was a sad one. It's not about data, but it is about in Sumter County, Florida. A sheriff pulled the plug on the Flock cameras after the detective was arrested for using the system to track her ex-husband's wife. And these things happen. That system was used. She's in trouble, granted, but human nature is what it is, and things happen, and unfortunately people suffer. So I just want to relodge my opposition, in particular to this company, and really have a step back and think about what it is we're doing and suggesting with these cameras. Because it's not an easy answer. Yes, we need to solve crimes, but the vulnerabilities that we as average citizens are placed under are not good. And so I just want us to consider that before entering into a contract with this company. And that's it. Thank you.
Thank you. Holly Flanagan, Sylvia Road. Just name and address for the record, please.
Certainly. Holly Flanagan, 30 Sylvia Road. I feel a little tone deaf after some of the issues that have come up tonight, but I also feel a little more aware because we also have well water and live in South Tiverton, so we're ready for some action. I'm here to talk about Sylvia Road. We are finally getting paved. Woo! after many, 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 many years. And we have heard from the town and our DPW director that there's some consideration that Sylvia Road may be changed to a one-way street. And we have some concerns about that, only that we want to make sure that the residents and neighbors in that area are part of that discussion and are considered when those decisions are being made. And I understand that, it's a concern for emergency vehicles. Sylvia Road is a very narrow through street between Stone Church Road and East Road. We've never had an issue getting emergency vehicles up and down that street, people passing on that street, and they are trying to make it a little bit wider, which you still have to pull over for someone to pass, but that's okay. If there are concerns about safety on Sylvia Road, it really has to do with the exit onto East Road. It is an exceptionally dangerous spot, and I've lived there on and off for 56 years. My mother has been there for many years more. It's okay, Mommy. And the biggest issue has to do with that, leaving on that end of the street. What we would like to be seen, and I understand there's going to be a traffic study as part of this consideration, but we have been asking for years for there to be a no left turn out of that end of the street. So the East Road egress, when you go to Sylvia to East Road, which is now E Road for some reason, I don't know why. I guess we can't afford the AST on the East Road. That egress, if there was a no left turn there and a right turn only, it wouldn't solve the safety issue there, but it would certainly at least alert people like the FedEx driver that left the road that is a really dangerous spot to come over. So we would like some consideration when those decisions are being made after that traffic study that I understand is going to be done, that at least the neighbors, the residents are surveyed about that, so that some real input from that's less objective and more subjective, but still just as important in those considerations. Also possibly a no through traffic. There's going to be through traffic, but somebody following their ways might go, oh, we can't go through here. That might help a little bit too. And that's all I have to say about that.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Good. Randall Rose, back on the flock. Just name and address for the record, please, sir.
Thank you. My name is Randall Rose, and unfortunately, I am from Providence, not Tiverton, but 20 Lewis Street, Providence.
Sorry to hear that. You're welcome to move here anytime.
Thank you. Well, I've been here a lot recently, and I'm part of a group called Rhode Islanders for Personal Privacy. We are opposing flock cameras, and we were talking with the people in Tiverton, in Little Compton City, the town council, because Little Compton recently decided not to get flock cameras, and we are finding more and more people are concerned about them. And I just want to make clear, the concern is not about flock cameras used for fighting crime. It's that this particular company, Flock, is really slimy, really writes their contracts in a very abusive way, and unless you have a background in privacy law, you would probably miss what they've slipped into the contract. But they make it sound as if they delete information after 30 days. If you read the contract super carefully, all they say is the customer data, which is the raw recordings, have a retention period of 30 days. They say the customer data, that's what you own. But process data, anything they get from processing the raw recordings, that belongs to Flock. Flock can use that any way they want, and there's no retention period. That is explicitly described as Flock's property. So when you sign this contract with them, what you're doing is you're paying them to put up these cameras to record whatever they want from this, and they can process that recording and monetize it any way they want, and use it for their own purposes, and all the town gets in return is the ability to use Flock's website and see what information Flock has chosen to make available there. You don't get to see all the information. And it actually says in the contract, I sent you our legal analysis last month, it actually says in the contract, Tiverton does not have any authority of any kind to bind Flock in any way whatsoever. It says Flock is not Tiverton's agent. There's no agency, partnership, joint venture, or employment, and you're just paying Flock, and in return, Flock gets to use the information any way they want, and, you know, in the modern tech industry, that means they're going to monetize it. And there's no accountability there. I noticed in the police department's policy that was put out 4 years ago, it says Flock can't sell the data. Well, your contract with Flock says you can't bind Flock. So even though the police department's policy says Flock can't sell the data, it doesn't stop Flock from doing that. And of course, in addition to outright sales, there are other ways of monetizing it that aren't called sales. So Flock does say that they use AI to process the recordings they get. So there's the raw recordings, which you own, but the processed version of the recording has this vehicle tagged as ID number blah, 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 and this individual tagged as ID number blah, blah, blah. They can use that processed version of that recording and sell it for commercial purposes and use it against residents' interest. And because Flock owns the devices, Flock can put any extra sensors they want in there without your knowledge or consent, because just in return for allowing them to let you access their website and limited information on their website, they are getting the full authority to do anything what they want with anything they want with their data, and it's a very different value proposition than they lead towns to believe. So because they're doing that kind of thing, we don't think Flock is the best vendor for this kind of thing because their contract is so abusive. And I did send you a legal analysis a month ago that goes into far more details about it. Their devices are notoriously insecure, very easy to hack. Their contract actually prevents you from doing a security audit. There has never been a security audit by any town or city of Flock cameras. When I've seen videos of people hacking into them, I know they wouldn't pass a security audit. So, you know, in modern times, that means hackers are going to get into it. Foreign militaries are going to hack into these cameras because that's just part of how militaries work in the modern age. It is not working for the town's interest, and their contract is designed to keep you from making sure that everything they do is in the town's interest. So for that reason, we don't think they're the best vendor for this.
Okay. Thank you. Valerie Martin had signed up to talk about the Shelby Stubbs piece, but I'm assuming that she already said her piece. So, Ms. French, you'd like to talk about 247.5 industrial acres.
Yes, I do. Hi, my name's Jamie French, and I live on Craig Avenue.
If you could just pull the microphone down, because it's directional, so if it's pointed up, nobody's going to hear you.
No. At the council meeting on June 22nd, at the last agenda item, there was a discussion about land being enrolled into the Rhode Island Ready Quantic Commerce Program for industrial infrastructure. Now, we know that industry creates PFAS, most industry there is. And during the discussion, there was 11 acres that belonged to Mr. Long that had already been enrolled into the same program in April that had shown up in the April Quantic Commerce monthly report, along with there was about 110 acres from Tiverton that showed up in that report. So on June 22nd, there was the 11 acres from Mr. Long, there was 177 acres for Mr. Lynch, and an additional 70.5 acres that belonged to Mr. Lynch. During the discussion, the 247 acres, 0.5 acres that belonged to Mr. Lynch were never discussed. They were only the 11 acres in the PDP that were owned by Mr. Long. Mr. Perry even asked very specific questions about this property, which was the Mr. Lynch property, and basically by omission or changing the subject, he was not told the reality of the situation. I know that at least 4 council members sitting here were aware of the situation, and I feel that it was it was not transparent that we put 247.5 acres of wooded swamp, wetlands, and reservoir watershed acres and enrolled them into a industrial program when it was on the agenda and it was never discussed. Even our attorney kept saying, but there's two letters here referring to the fact that there was more than just the Mr. Long's parcel to be discussed. And and Mike repeated it multiple times, and he was totally ignored by the council. And so we had from April and June, we had more than a half a section of land now enrolled for industrial industrial infrastructure, which means the possibility of clear cutting. It could all be PFAS properties, and you would think that the least you could do is, if it's on the agenda, that you would discuss it openly. But it was very much hidden by the discussion, and that's very opaque. And I had said to one of the people who was bringing this along works for an engineering firm that is hired by companies in town, and it's also hired by Rhode Island Ready. And so this is being pushed along. And when I talked to this person, I asked very specifically, I said, you're planning on bringing in industry, again, to North Tiverton only, and there is no water. What are you going to do for water? And it's like, well, we'll just find industry that doesn't need water. What kind of industry is that? You mean a dump, or more piles of crap piled up, or maybe more recycling? I mean, what are we looking at here? Or we can wait 20 or 30 years and see what happens, and maybe we'll have water. But I don't think that Rhode Island Ready is going to wait 20 or 30 years to bring in infrastructure and spend lots of money. So the land we're talking about, this is so we have a half a section of land that's been enrolled just in the past few months. That's larger than a half acre, larger than a half mile by a mile. If you were to look at that and just looking at North Tiverton, that would mean a section of land that went from the state line down to Randolph Avenue, from Main Road to the bay. That is how much land we're talking about. But the land in question isn't there. It's located between Longplex north to Site Ready. And so it's that whole section of wooded land that runs to the right side, or the south side of 24. And so much of that land is located in our watershed, which is not even considered. And we already have one company that's located in our watershed that we know that DEM has said has done stormwater contamination of our reservoir, but they don't do alluvial or ground testing. As you can tell by PFAS, it took them how many years to get around to
Ms. French,
this?
I gotta stop you there, because I take offense that you're up here trying to draw a Rhode Island Ready application connection to an actual well contamination issue in the south end of town. And I worry for people who will watch this and say, oh my God, the town council is going to go poison more water in this town. That is not at all our position.
Well,
so I mean,
industry.
Yeah, you are welcome to your opinions, but you are not welcome to your own set of facts.
Well, industry is known. Most industry is a PFAS contaminator. That is a known fact.
That is not, for anybody watching at home, that is not a known fact. That is not based in fact. We are not manufacturing aqueous film-forming foams, which is what the primary concern is related to the PFAS piece.
No, only on Crandall Road. Not, but you're talking anything that is made that's waterproof, fertilizers, pesticides, everything. There are so many things. Degreasers, solvents that use for a boatyard. All of these things have PFAS in them. And these are things that have been talked about for years. I don't know why Tiverton is behind on these subjects. But just in the electrical components, the manufacturing electrical components is PFAS. You have a lot of your things that end up in a dump do end up with PFAS in them that can get down into your groundwater. These are not unknowns. We have, the state of Rhode Island has a 5% average of industrial land in most towns. We have a 10% in Tiverton. So we are double the amount, and we have no buffers to residential, and having a bedrock aquifer, it's not very well tested over the years.
Ms.
And I'm just saying that
we still have a number of people that want to speak.
Whether or not we want more industry in this town. But my main problem isn't the decision, it was the way it was reached. It was on the agenda, it was on the clerk base, and it was not discussed. Anyone who wants to can listen to those last 20 minutes of the 6/22/26 council meeting and listen to how this was never discussed, even when Mr. Perry asked a very direct question about this.
Ms. French, it is duly noted, your objection, that we didn't spend enough time to satisfy you on that specific parcel.
You spent no time on it.
Listen.
I would encourage everybody at home to watch the meeting, because the context here matters. The reason that Mr. Long's property was being talked about more was because there was question as to why there was two, and there were questions about Mr. Long's property alone, not the other property. So please watch the meeting.
Thank you.
It's a tradesman center that is permitted by right, basically, in the PDP takes concern over the fact that you have you were talking about you ignore 247.5 wooded acres in our reservoir. The last thing I'd like to say is that the North Tiverton Water Department probably should get the credit for giving water out to the residents in Crandall Road, not the town of Tiverton, just because the town's always getting credit for things like supplying water for fire, mutual aid, when in fact it's the water districts and not the town. And we, as residents of these water districts, have to pay additional costs to cover these additional things that water we don't use, in which the town is always getting credit for. Thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Jobin.
Yeah, sure. Hi, Robert Jobin, Stafford Road, Tiverton, obviously. I'd like to just do comments on the water pollution going on Crandall Road. And evidence is absolutely incredibly valuable. My heart goes out to the families that did not know about the PFAS in the water system. It seems to be that people are thinking it's the fire department. Well, it may very well be, but we have to rule that out. DEM really should, I was kind of disappointed in their initial presentation here. There are computer programs, and they might need more information, where you can input the information on what the contamination level was, the well depth, and if they get that information, they can see where the plume is of this contamination, also the depth. So it's a basically three-dimensional thing that they can generate. Second thing was, I was very, very concerned because the northern part of the Teflon or PFAS contamination goes up to almost George's gas station. Behind George's is Stafford Pond. We never, ever had information concerning PFAS contamination in that area. I live on Stafford Pond, and one of the things I think DEM may be overlooking is that if the PFAS contamination gets into Stafford Pond, everybody here has a huge problem. Huge problem. Third thing I wanted to mention, these poor people. I lived on Crandall for a while, out of the zone as far as I know. But these poor people that suffered because of the PFAS contamination are now going to suffer economic harm. Any of these people want to sell their house today. How much less are they going to get for their house? Okay, I think the town should really step up and take a look at their evaluations and see if they can reduce some of their taxes through this. Again, we need data, we need facts, we need evidence, but I think that's a remedy the town could look at until these folks are made whole. And I don't even know if I'm in that system, so I just want people to know. We plan on calling, getting tested, and seeing what's going on. But this contamination is extremely serious. From a firefighter perspective, a AAA foam is loaded with it. Our gear was loaded with it. If you don't have extractors that go into a sewer system and the firefighters wash their gear out in the station, that goes into the, whatever they have, some type of septic system in that area. So that's something to look at also. I would also say for the town, an extractor, which is like a huge washing machine for their goods. I know they're going over to PFAS-free goods, but if that still some remain in the stations and they're using them, even as second-line gear, an extractor would be the first thing that the town really should be thinking of buying. PFAS is incredibly deadly. Cancers, from personal experience, lawyers never stop. If you've been diagnosed with cancer as a firefighter, the lawyers are after you to file claims against them, especially for kidney cancers, prostate cancers, and some of the skin cancers, liver cancers was brought up here. So it's nothing to be taken lightly, in my opinion, and we have to really, as a town, try to make these people whole. Thank you.
Thank you. All right, Ivy Hall. We're back on the flock cameras. Name and address for the record, please.
Hello, Ivy Hall, 487 Boulder Marsh Road. Here again. I have filed, this is now my third FOIA request, and this is addressed to Attorney Marcello. So I was provided, I had asked for the current flock contract. What I was provided with was an expired quote with 3 pages that you signed off on. So this is not the full entire contract of what we as townspeople are signing off on and we're voting on, or you're voting on rather, tonight. So I want the full contract with dates, start dates, end dates. Language.
Just so I can, so obviously we don't have a contract yet because the council hasn't voted yet.
You have a prior contract, that's what I had asked for. June 24th, that was my request. I was told to email. I emailed the FOIA request. There is no online form to fill out. I had a conversation with Ms. Chabot about that, and she told me to get in touch with Chief Costa's admin, Kayla Silva. She has been excellent, fabulous. Now, apparently, you have taken over my requests.
Well, no, I handle most of the APRA requests for the town, so it's not, I'm taking over your requests, but your requests have been...
We have not been communicating, sir. So this...
But I have been communicating with the chief of police and his staff.
Okay,
So
but I
because,
have not received an email from you until just now. Just June 8th,
Right,
I
in
believe,
compliance
yes.
with the law, we did respond to your request, and I believe...
You did, but you did not provide the contract in its entirety, sir.
I believe we did.
You did not.
Okay, and if you...
You provided me an expired quote.
Ma'am, we gave you what we have. If there's other documents...
It's not true.
Okay.
So I want
You can
the
file an
full
appeal with
contract.
you can file an appeal with the Rhode Island Attorney General's office if you
I
believe that we are...
filed another email with Chief Costa per your instructions. I have them right here if you'd like to see what you wrote to me.
I'm well aware what I wrote you. So, ma'am, if you believe that we are wrongfully withholding documents...
You are.
Okay. You can file an appeal with the chief, or you can file an appeal with the
I
Rhode
did
Island
that,
Attorney
sir, if
General's
you didn't
office.
just listen to what I just said to you.
And we will
Yeah.
provide the documents if we have them. We are not required to provide a document that we do not have.
You do have a document. There have been flock cameras since Patrick Jones was chief of police in 2021. Remember when I uncovered that a private citizen was paying for flock cameras that did not go in front of the town council. So we've had a contract with flock since 2021.
You have been provided all the documents that we have that are responsive.
You're lying to me,
Okay,
so...
please don't accuse me of being lying.
Well, you are,
Okay,
because
okay.
I have proof. This is proof.
If you are believing that you are not getting the documents, then you can
You
file...
provided me an expired quote, sir.
Because
You're insulting my intelligence.
Ma'am, if you believe that we have not provided you with
I
the
don't
documents...
believe. I have factual evidence
then
right here.
please file an appeal with the Rhode Island Attorney General's office.
I will do that. Thank you for your time.
Thank you.
Thank you. Is it Hendrick? Name and address for the record, please, sir. Also on the flock topic. Did I get it correct? Was it Hendrick? Okay.
It's Hendrick, yeah. Stephen Hendrick, 31 Starlit Road. I think there are some very serious privacy concerns to be addressed regarding the flock surveillance system. And I think this is exactly why Warren, Portsmouth, Newport, and now Little Compton have all said no. In fact, Newport had a trial going with flock, and the townspeople got together and let their wishes be known, and the town decided to abandon flock, and they're going to taking all the cameras down if they haven't already done it. So here are what I think are some of the privacy issues, and this is probably well known, so I won't spend a lot of time on it. But this is really a mass surveillance infrastructure. I mean, I don't think that what we have in Tiverton quite yet amounts to that, but if we continue to kind of populate the town with cameras, it becomes a mass surveillance infrastructure, because then no matter where you go, everybody knows, at least who has the flock data, and the town knows where you're going. So, this can be a Fourth Amendment potentially issue with warrantless search, and I said especially as the number of cameras increase. I don't think there's any legislative guardrails that exist right now regarding the use of flock data and regarding what privacy concerns need to be adhered to when it comes to license plate readers like flock. So it's kind of premature to use this technology right now because there's so much that hasn't been decided about it. There are also examples of data sharing loopholes from one town to another. I know the data is supposed to be for a particular town only, but there are examples of loopholes in that where towns do share and compare notes depending upon the severity of the issues that they're looking at. This is the same at the government level with interagency sharing of information and government access to flock data as well. ICE, for instance, has been known to use it. So here's my perspective. I think it's really too soon to be involved with flock. I think the company, as we've heard earlier, is one that's a little sketchy to be doing business with at this point. I don't think we have any kind of legislation at the state and local level that really, speaks to privacy issues that are being presented by the use of the flock system. And so I think this is really an issue that the town needs to be thinking very seriously about, and I think it's really premature at this time for the town to be involved with flock and involved with this kind of a technology. So it's not, flock doesn't really have yet a technology and a business model that's ready for prime time and ready for, use in public. I think we need to have more understanding, experience, and insight and thought about what this all represents and means with respect to privacy before we, kind of dive into it and commit to it. Thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Hendrick, just one quick point for you, because I think it's germane to your point about Newport walking away from flock. On July 22nd, they spent $375,000 to put flock drones in the sky. So it's counterfactual, that's all.
Okay, all right.
So they may not be doing the cameras, but they're buzzing drones all over the air.
Okay,
Yeah.
all right, very good. Well, another issue to worry about.
Not our problem here in Tiverton. No.
Understood.
Thank you, sir. All right, VA Lopes.
VA Lopes, 267 Deer Run Road. Before I talk about flock, I can go and knock on doors and give out the PFAS information. I work from home, got 2 hours tomorrow, Wednesday, Thursday through Friday. So I was going to do, get out the vote. So if you need me to do that, I'm happy to go walk around. So just email me paper. I got a printer, all good. All right, so just 2 points I wanted to make, and then I had some questions for when, if you guys could take these down for when Chief Costa presents. But first point, I think you might have to close your tabs and restart, Councilman Edwards. I haven't gotten that email asking me what we've seen in Tiverton regarding flock issues. And so I think it's a germane question, but the reality is it's kind of like, well, I haven't been in a car accident in Tiverton, so should I wear a seatbelt, right? And the answer is yes, I should still wear a seatbelt. And honestly, we don't know if anything has gone wrong with flock cameras in Tiverton because until about 5 months ago, we didn't know they were here. So that's one thing, like it's a seatbelt safety issue. And then the other, Councilman Paul, you had mentioned, do we want justice for our neighbors? And the answer is absolutely yes. What flock gets us is just expediency, right? Like these are 11 if you want to pass them around. I will email these to you, and if you're nice, I'll send you my favorite true crime podcasts that I listen to when I'm a behavioral scientist. When I'm assessing data, I'm running my favorite true crime podcasts. These are 11 that just happen to come off the top of my head. I will send you, they have hyperlinks, and I'll also send you the podcasts. But the reality is I know Chief Costa and his team, with the help of residents and just, private and public cameras, would still have solved those crimes. And that's the point here. They'll still do their job. I'd rather not have AI replace our police department and even just hire another police person if it's going to mean expediency, because that's what this is. That's all we get. But the reality is that we also tie in with this whole aspect of a larger surveillance, which violates our Fourth Amendment rights. Couple of questions. The VMs that the data is hosted on, can we find out where those live? All right? Do we know what VMs are?
Virtual machines.
Yes. Okay. So where those are hosted, and it seems that, and this might be a question for Administrator Jones, from what we did get from the FOIA request or the ARPA request, it seems that one of the cameras is probably a complimentary camera, or what has been up until this point. So one was being paid for, but the other one, it seems to be complimentary. And if anybody knows, when they give you things for free, they're usually using that to train you. So for example, anybody who has a free or had a free ChatGPT version, I've been using Jasper for a decade and paying $1,000, but ChatGPT gave it away so they could get a faster machine learning. So I'm going to bet dollars to donuts, they own the images, and it's part of their machine learning program. But if we could also clarify that. And I think those are all my questions. Thank you.
Thank you. Barbara, I think this is related to the boathouse. Anybody else want to talk about the boathouse? No? I think she might have left. Okay. Abigail Pimentel. Madam Clerk, there's no more signups over there, are there? Okay. It's been a marathon, guys. Have at it. Just name and address for the record, please.
Yep, Abigail Pimentel, 557 Hancock Street here in Tiverton. I've been a Tiverton resident for 8 years. My husband and I bought our first and hopefully forever home here. And a big reason why we looked into Tiverton was this safe, small, beautiful town. So I really appreciate everyone coming out here. It's really clear how much we all care. So my topic is, as others have spoken on, the issue of the flock cameras. I'm here to firmly oppose the installation of any additional automated license plate reader cameras. These devices are often marketed as a crime-fighting tool, but they are in reality an invasive surveillance apparatus that has no place in our community. They really are a wolf in sheep's clothing, selling us crime prevention while actually making our communities less safe. These cameras go far beyond traffic enforcement. They record vehicle makes, models, bumper stickers, dents, building a searchable, intimate digital map of our daily lives, from where we go to work, to where our children go to school, where we worship, when we exercise our First Amendment rights. All of this becomes readily available for bad actors, both domestic, international, hackers, governments, etc. This sensitive data is then handed over to private third-party companies, often without meaningful public control over storage, usage, or access. This data has already been shown to be vulnerable to hackers and outright data sale. At the end of the day, town police departments are relying on a private company's pinky promise that they won't sell or leak sensitive data. Some argue that this is the price of safety, but evidence shows otherwise. Nationally, law enforcement officers have used these systems to stalk romantic partners to the tune of 28 cases so far identified since 2021. 2021. Communities have also found their data being shared with federal agencies in violation of local agreements. Mountain View, California is an example of a community that just ended their flock agreement because they found out that flock was sharing data with federal agents in violation of state law. These AI systems are also prone to dangerous high-stakes errors, leading innocent families to be held at gunpoint in front of their children. One example occurred in Sherwood, Arkansas in February 2026. A camera misread a digit on an innocent couple's plate, resulting in them being taken out of their vehicle at gunpoint and their 6-week-old infant baby remaining unattended in their backseat of their vehicle. Another example happened in June 2024 in Morrison, Tennessee. The AI mistook a 0 for a 1, or a 0 as an O, leading officers to detain 2 grandparents at gunpoint in front of their 3-year-old granddaughter. These are not just technical glitches, they are the predictable outcomes of placing flawed surveillance technology on our streets. Speaking of price of safety, these cameras and the contracts that go with them are not cheap. Over 95 communities have already stopped or discontinued their contracts with ALPRs, such as Flock and other companies, after spending thousands of dollars on equipment and contracts that turned out to do more harm than good. We do not need to repeat the mistakes of other towns. Our neighbors in Portsmouth, Warren, and Little Compton have already reviewed this technology and rejected it. They prioritize the safety and privacy and freedom of their residents over this unchecked surveillance. Tiverton should join them in saying no. I vote this council to vote against any proposal furthering any alliances with Flock, and keep Tiverton town where residents are free from constant monitoring. Thank you.
Thank you. All right, now we're on to appointments and resignations. We have 2 acknowledgements of resignation / retirement. Richard Siegel from the Dog Park Committee effective June 19th, 2026, and David Collins from the Zoning Board of Review effective July 15th, 2026. I'd like to entertain a motion to accept those resignations with regret.
So moved.
Second.
Motion been made, seconded by several. Any further discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor? Okay. Next up, we have Dog Park Committee, a 5-member board, 3-year terms. There are 3 vacancies. The first applicant is going to be pushed, Jeannie, correct, to the 8/11 meeting? Okay. The second one, Ellen Brady. Is Ellen Brady here? Oh, there you are. Wonderful. So this is requesting appointment for a term ending 4/15/2027 or 4/15/2028. Ms. Brady, if you wouldn't mind coming up. We have to interview since you're a new appointment.
I didn't know I was going to have to.
Normally our speaking portion from the public is not as long, so. All right, why would you like to be on the dog park? committee?
Well, I started to go there with my 2 dogs about a year ago. I've met some wonderful people there, and I just think it's a really good way to socialize dogs.
Wonderful. Any questions from the council? Councilor Perry.
Ms. Bree, what's a home rescue foster?
I can't hear what you
What's a home rescue foster? Was that you?
I don't know.
On the application.
On your application, you have home rescue foster?
That I fostered.
No, I think that...
Was that the wrong one?
Yes, yes.
I'm
This is the
sorry.
second one. The first one's unavailable this evening.
I'm sorry, wrong person.
Yeah.
Wrong one.
No, Miss Brady is a retired teacher.
You're the retired teacher.
Yes.
Okay.
No questions for you. Okay. You're fine.
Councilor Paul, Councilor Janik.
No, just I think that's great. You've been there, you've met people, and we would love to have your help there.
I'd like to make a motion to approve.
We're going to waive policy if we're going to approve.
Motion to waive the policy.
So moved.
You're going to do it one fell swoop? Okay.
Motion to approve the waiver of the, motion to waive the policy and approve the appointment of Ellen Brady for a term ending, so you have the option 4/15/27 or 4/15/28.
I do 28.
28, so 4/15/28.
Second.
Motion's been made and seconded. Any further discussion? Hearing none. All those in favor? Congratulations, Miss Brady. Thank you. You're now officially on the dog park. All right. Next up, we have the Economic Development Commission. This is a 5-member board. There are 4-year terms. We have 2 vacancies. John Hardman requests reappointment for a term ending 7/15/2030. Since Mr. Oh, you're going to speak on behalf of Mr. Hardman. You got to just hit the button. No worries.
He had to leave because he had to bring his dog, was in the car all this time waiting, so he had to bring his dog back, and he's not here. John Hardman is a reappointment. We can do that.
Those are pretty standard. He's working well on the committee?
Yes, fine.
Okay.
Doing a good job.
All right, so we'll start with that because there are 2 vacancies. This is for a term ending 7/15/2030. Do we have a motion from the council?
Motion to approve the appointment.
Second.
Motion's been made for John Hardman for 7/15/2030, seconded by Councilors Janik and Perry. Any further discussion? Hearing none. All those in favor?
Thank you.
Mr. Hardman is back on. Now you're here to speak on behalf of Mr. Durkee.
Who may walk in any minute, but he's a new appointee. He has an excellent resume. I think I had sent it out to people.
Yes.
Has done a lot of, has owned his own business, has experience in real estate development, has been a number of boards and commissions, including Rhode Island Public Transit, Providence City Plan Commission, where he served as chair for the last 11 years of his tenure. He owns small businesses. I think he's an excellent addition to the EDC.
Okay, any questions from the council for stand-in Steve Durkee?
I'm sorry.
No, his resume looks very impressive.
Yeah, he's a smart guy.
I make a motion to appoint Steve Durkee.
We're going to make a motion to waive the policy and appoint Steve Durkee for the term ending...
Waive the policy and appoint Steve Durkee.
For the term ending 7/15/2027. Do I have a second?
Second.
Motion been made and seconded. Any further discussion? Hearing none. All those in favor? All right. You now have a full committee, Madam Chair. Okay, next up we have the Cemetery Commission 5-member board, 3-year term. We have 1 vacancy. Stephanie Madera requests appointment for a term ending 7/15/2029. Yes, you were here. Wonderful. All right. Why don't you start by just telling us a little bit about yourself and why you'd like to be involved in the Cemetery Commission?
Well, I lived in this town my whole life. My family bought their home in 1977 off of Crandall Road. My family is buried, the fish plot is buried at Pecasset Cemetery, and my father's buried there also. So to me, it's very important to kind of be part of that and make sure that my family's plots are taken care of.
Wonderful. Any questions from the council?
I have one.
Yes, Councilor Perry.
How did the Fish Road and your mother's name come about?
To be honest, I do not know, but they lived in the Quonset hut, which is no longer there. That used to be on Fish Road. My grandmother and then my great-grandparents. Yeah, so the name is, the
Just
road is named after them.
reading your resume and that.
Yeah, no, it is. And there were different houses, I think off of Sousa Road, right when you get to Fish, there was a house there that my grandmother used to live in, and then they moved along, it's next to Knights of Columbus, and like I said, the Quonset hut is no longer there. But they came over on the ship after the Mayflower, so we have really strong roots in the community.
It's very interesting.
Yeah, it is.
Thank you.
Thank you.
All right. Do I have any further questions or? Waive policy and appoint?
Yes.
Okay.
Revise the policy and appoint
Stephanie.
Schober? I'm sorry.
Stephanie
Stephanie's.
Matera, yes.
Okay.
Thank you.
And this would be for a term ending 7/15/2029. Do I have a second?
Second.
Motion's been made by Councilor Perry, seconded by Councilor Janik. Any further discussion? Hearing none, all those...
I just thought that your resume was really...
Thank you.
It was very personal.
Thank you. Thank you. I appreciate that.
All right. All those in favor?
Thank you.
All right. Congratulations. You're on.
Thank you. Nice to meet you.
Thank you. All right. Last appointment we have is Edwin Schober, requests appointment for the full term on the Tiverton Zoning Board of Review for a term ending 7/15/2031.
Is that a reappointment?
No, this is for the...
Hello, sir. I understand you're the alternate.
I am a second alternate and first alternate, and so now I'm applying for the full permanent position.
Permanent position. All right.
A voter. Yeah.
All right. Questions from the council? Councilor Janik?
Comment. I am the liaison to the zoning, and you have done a fabulous job in the 3 years you've been on. You've really given a lot of good, positive input. Correct, Lisa?
Absolutely.
Yeah. So I wholeheartedly agree with your going permanent.
Madam Chair, by all means.
Yes, I'm Lisa Gouchette, 938 Lake Road, Chair of the Zoning Board. I've known Ed for about 7 years. He's been a resident for 7 years, and he's been on the Zoning Board for 4.
Yeah, this is my fourth year.
He's in his 4th year. He comes to all the meetings. He participates. He's very courteous and professional with witnesses and parties and attorneys. Really important,
Yes.
I think. He's patient, he's thoughtful, and I have to say that when I got appointed to the zoning board, in the last century, I didn't know anything about zoning, and for someone, at least I was a lawyer. I mean, I got half of it down, but I think it's really difficult for some people to come onto a community board that don't have public speaking experience and have a whole new vocabulary, a whole new rubric of rules to follow. And, it's too bad because nobody told me what I was supposed to do. It's, you figure it out as you go along. And after 4 years, Ed's got the value of that experience. And he's a great addition, and I hate to see him leave. I have to tell you, David Collins will be a hard shoes to fill, but
39 years he was on the board.
49.
49 years.
49. And I've spoken to the town administrator about acknowledging his significant community service, and he's been a wonderful addition, and we're going to honor him at some future time.
Sounds good. All right. Any other questions from the council? If not, I'd like to entertain a motion.
Motion to appoint, I just flipped the page, of course. I do know the name. I just want to make sure I get the date. Edwin Schober to the full position on the Zoning Board of Review, term ending 7/15/2031.
Second.
Motion's been made and seconded. Just one point, we now have 2 alternate vacancies, so if anybody else would like to follow in Mr. Schober's footsteps and join a board as an alternate, there is an opportunity for 2 more people.
Come on down.
Yes. Thank you for the Bob Barker. All right.
Thank you.
All those in favor? All right. Congratulations, and thank you for your continued service. Mr. Administrator, we had it on here for General Business B on the update on Crandall Road PFAS, but I believe we covered that already, correct, sir?
So just quickly, I will say that, from my position, and I'm sure I speak for the council, about the concerns of some of the residents, of most of the residents, if not all the residents. Communication is not what is spoken, it's how it's received. And clearly, we can do a better job in communicating with our residents as we see through this problem moving forward. I have another meeting with DEM on Wednesday that the solicitor will be present with, and I'm sure the director was in the room for most of it, but also Rhode Island Department of Health, the Water Department, along with the members of their team, and I will be sure to express the concerns of our residents moving forward so we can get this problem resolved and do a better job in communicating and getting the message out to those impacted as well.
Thank you. All right, so next item on the agenda is discussion and final vote on amendments to charter, or final amendments to charter amendments and their corresponding ballot questions. This is continued from July 20th, 2026. You want to take that out of order?
I think we're going to spend some time on this, so it's up to you, but we're going to spend some time on this because I've got some comments.
We want to let people go home early. That is fine. All right, let's do that then. Without objection, I will take item 8G out of order. I think that's it. Yes. Hold off on this till the end. Mr. Solicitor, what were you suggesting? All right, why don't we come back? We're gonna sit on the table, see, and then we'll just 1, 2, 3, 4. All right, because I know Mr. Hayden wants to go too. So, all right, Sylvia Road residents Tom and Holly Flanagan, Gil Sylvia, and Mary Ellen George discussion regarding concerns over potential to transform Sylvia Road into a one-way street. I know we heard from Miss Flanagan already. Any of the other members here who wanted to speak on this? Looks like an easy one. So we will make sure that you are involved in the discussions. Once the traffic study is done, the administrator will take the advice of the residents. Yes,
So
sir.
I expect a report from the police department as long as the recommendations from the DPW, and then that'll be in front of you because that'll be part of an ordinance that we'd have to advertise if it goes forward, and also there'll be obviously, as you know, sir, public comment section as well.
Okay, wonderful. All right, next item on the agenda is John Hunter and Alexander Olart, 496 Riverside Drive. Discussion and possible vote regarding permission to use portion of right-of-way on unimproved section of Riverside Drive. Hello. John.
Hello. John Hunter, 496 Riverside Drive.
Alex Olarte, same.
I apologize for saying your last name incorrectly.
That's okay.
So we are here to respectfully request permission to, our address is in Riverside, in the back of our house, and then we would like to have access to the road in the bottom. So we wanted to put stairs all the way down there.
We're over by the boathouse. We're the fourth house in after the boathouse, so Riverside Drive is not a road. The town doesn't maintain it. There's no cars on it. It's a walking path now.
Yes.
But to put stairs down, we went through Todd Chaplin at Mount Hope Engineering. To get down, we have to get within 50 feet onto the town property, so we need a variance from the town council, and we have some lovely gentlemen here that will speak on our behalf.
The planner?
Yes.
Mr. Spencer.
So we took a look on the site, and again, this is their property is Riverside Drive. Their access is on the back side, but this is really just on the top on Poplar. This is really for them to be able to access Riverside Drive. We spoke with the DPW director. There are no plans to make any improvements to that section of Riverside Drive. So this is really for the use of landing those steps there, not for sale of town property or anything like that. So it's not a permanent easement or anything like that. It's really just for the use for that particular steps, and it's pretty similar to what occurs up and down Riverside Drive. There's a number of other properties that have steps that do the same thing. So they're
Just to be clear, I believe when I talked to the planner about this, there are a number of residents that have steps, many of them which we have no record of getting any kind of permission.
That's not on us.
No, I know that.
We're doing it the right way.
I know, so I just want... Way to go, guys. I wanted to just point that out. So sometimes these stairs just kind of appeared, but when I was contacted by the planner, this is the best solution we came up to give them, to give you the ability to grant this if you so choose, so it becomes official, and it's not a permanent easement, it's just really just to put a landing, basically. The stairs will land on town property, so.
So I have a quick question there, because isn't the sewer pipe run down, even that unapproved or
Not on that
developed section?
The sewer goes on Poplar in front of our house.
Okay.
And then it goes down, and then it picks up on Riverside down below where there's actual pavement.
All right. And do you guys own property across on the other side of Riverside Drive? So this is really about waterfront access?
No, the town owns.
We own everything from
Riverside Drive to the water.
To the water?
That's a gentleman from Portsmouth. I looked at the GIS map on
Okay. And Mr. Solicitor, you have no
I've
concerns?
talked to the planner. I don't have an objection. I think it's been done. Again, they're asking permission, unlike some of their neighbors who apparently just put steps there. So, I mean, I think we're just kind of following the tradition. It's not a huge encroachment at all. It's just is it a landing? I think
It's just the stairs,
yeah,
the steps.
The steps that go down.
Yeah.
So it's up to you.
Mr. Administrator?
So I did speak, obviously, with the planner as well, and he, in his experience, talked about knowing that there's two issues here. One, it's been allowed by the town, sorta, and these gentlemen are trying to do it the right way, but having either an agreement with the council if it's approved, and it's basically a revocable permission. So it's something that if the council so chooses to approve this, we have the ability to revoke that permission at any time.
And we'll come to a written agreement that we'll probably put on the land evidence record, so that's just the next step. But I didn't want to waste time doing this unless the council was...
Councilor Janik.
So this is up to the council to decide and not planning board? It's up to...
This is landing on town property.
Okay.
It's stairways.
All right.
Just because we own it. Yeah. Ms. Black, I believe you would like to speak.
Oh, sure.
Yes, just for a minute, please. Sally Black, 64 Broadview Drive. I moved there on Barker Heights in 1942, and we had steps. They went down, we went across the road and onto our dock. Thank you very much.
Thank you. If Sally Black approves it, you are good. I personally don't have an objection as long as it's not gonna be revocable in the future. I mean, I would hate to see a scenario where we have an issue like development down the line, like 50 years from now, and the town doesn't have access to it right away.
50 years from now.
You never know. I mean, it could be a hurricane or something that comes in. I have no clue.
But if you just give us permission to come to a very simple agreement, we'll do so. We'll make sure that obviously if someone falls, that's their liability. They'll assume the liability for that. Those kind of issues.
Okay.
Like I said. Okay.
With that, I'm going to make a motion that we instruct the solicitor to draft up an agreement with these gentlemen for a revocable right-of-way access on town property in front of their building, 2 land stairs.
Second.
Motion's been made and seconded. Any further discussion? Hearing none. All those in favor?
Thank you very much.
Thank you. Thank you. We're only like 20% of the way through this process now with you guys, but... All right, Mr. Hayden, 214 Highland Road, discussion and possible vote regarding proposal for Seasonal Educational Agritourism Program. Mr. Hayden, I see you have come prepared.
I have. These are all my conservation projects that I've done over the last 11 years, including a irrigation water management plan, 2 access roads, a high tunnel, a water well, which was tested in 2023. Thank God it was clean then. I might have to have it retested, it sounds like. High tunnel, this is the overview of the program. Another water management and irrigation program, and lots of site and landscape engineering that I've done. Just have that as reference in case you need it, because the reason I'm here today is my family's been in this town since 1930, 5th generation at 214 Highland Road, 214 Highland Road rear, and also 174 Highland Road, also known as Hilltop Tree Farm and Apiary. Thank you so much for having me here tonight, everyone. You've done a lovely job with the redo of the town hall, and I'll try to keep this brief under the 3 minutes, but again, my family's owned the property since 1930. My goal is to preserve it as a small farm for many future generations to come. What I'm doing here is very simple. I'm trying to pass on beekeeping and basic farm skills to the kids and the families so that the next generation knows how to care for land, and it doesn't turn into another development. The entire purpose of the program that I run, every single dollar that comes in for my beekeeping educational classes is a donation. It says that right in my listing. The first line on there says, this is not a business, it is not a campground, it is an educational farm experience, which is protected and covered under the Right to Farm Act. Beekeeping has very specific timing. I don't know if any of you have ever taken care of bees before. If anyone's interested in learning, bees are one of the most susceptible species to become extinct, and they pollinate over 50% of our food that we eat, right? So they're very important. Without them, we're not going to have food to eat. The bees need to be handled early in the morning or later in the evening. They're in full production in the middle of the day, and you're most likely to get stung at that time. So that timing is why I have temporary canvas tents. That's part of my setup on my farm. I have 2 of them. I had 4. 2 of them were completely ruined by the blizzard of 2026, even though I tarped them and took them down and such. So I don't have 25 sites or anything, which someone insinuated yesterday when I spoke to them about this. I have 2 small sites, and the property is fully supported. As I mentioned before, I have a clean 2003 well test. I have proper insurance, a multi-million-dollar rider. The trails are marked very adequately. I have a dumpster. My whole philosophy is pack in, pack out. What you bring in, you bring out. Nothing is left there. And ultimately, nothing's left behind. So there's never been a noise complaint. I submitted a FOIA request to Miss Joan Chabert, the town clerk, in 2024, which she got back to me in a timely manner, and there was no complaints on my property in regards to this. I've been doing this since 2019. Kids and family who come for the bee classes leave with local honey, fresh dozen eggs, and hopefully the inspiration to start their own garden, chicken coop, or bees at home. I believe every household should have bees and chickens. It's the most beautiful thing, going outside, grabbing eggs with your kids in the morning. I know, Councilor Edwards, your family even has chickens and eggs. So
this is true.
Yeah, so it's a great little experience, and let me just catch my space here. As I mentioned before, the bees are struggling. If we don't teach the next generation how to care for the bees, we're going to lose a critical part of our ecosystem. So my wife, Catherine, and I, thanks for coming here. Tonight's our 2nd anniversary, actually, so I appreciate her being here with me.
You should have sent an email. We would have pushed them off to the next one.
And I appreciate Jeannie, getting me on the agenda and everything. But ultimately, we took a class at Rhode Island College. I don't know, 4 years ago, maybe? I don't know. And it was at Rhode Island College local, and we're just trying to share the knowledge with the community. The teacher was amazing, and so I'm happy to give any member of the council or the town administration a tour of the farm and even teach you about the bees as well. And Mr. Paul, Vice President, has actually come and seen firsthand the operation and walked the property with me, seen everything firsthand. And I'm here tonight simply as a resident and a father trying to keep a small farm alive and pass something meaningful on to the next generation. If the town can support the agricultural education, I'll keep the land as a farm. If not, I'm going to have to move forward with a development plan. I'm in a situation where I'm at a crossroads, and I would prefer to keep it agricultural. And so I'll say that again, I would prefer to keep the land agricultural. So tonight, I respectfully ask the council to consider a vote for a special use variance to allow this very small beekeeping operation and agricultural education program to continue. It's going to preserve the farmland, support pollinators, and teach children skills that they can carry on for life. So that's it. I also have, if you need, I have the insurance rider policy. I also had a manufacturer test on my canvas tent that was required by the fire department. When I got approval from the fire department, I've gotten approval from the tax assessor. I had a permit that was pending with the building inspector from 2020. It was purged earlier in this year. I immediately sent a certified letter to the building inspector and planning, and I met with them immediately. They recommended that I submit this proposal, which I hope you have all received my proposal. It's very detailed detailed out on everything that I plan to do. And so I just respectfully request a vote for that special use variance to keep the land in agricultural education programs.
Okay. So if I understand correctly, basically the way our zoning's structured now is, technically speaking, what you want to do or are doing is not technically allowed under our zoning code. Am I right, Mr.
Correct.
Solicitor? Okay, so I'm not at all opposed to this concept. I think it's a phenomenal one, right? And I think anybody who's been to any of the planning board meetings would rather it be bees and chickens and trees as opposed to a, 5-story housing development. So I just want to make sure that we follow the process correctly, if the council agrees, and that would be to direct this to the planning board for language related to a special use permit. So
No, so I think, I guess what he's looking for is somewhat of a zoning use definition to be added to our use table.
Okay.
And then whether it's encompassed or not, and we don't grant special use permits here, so all we could do is grant a zoning change if that's where we need to go. But I don't know the specifics. I've looked over his proposal briefly before I came here tonight, but it's not something we can just grant here tonight.
So, but I would assume that if we're looking at a zoning use change, we're asking the planning board to look at a zoning use change, right? There's probably benefit for other farms like Mr. Hayden. So, if not only it helps keep Mr. Hayden's farm going, but it helps keep any number of the other farms in the south end of town going. This is another avenue for them to make money and not turn into a 5-story housing development. I think it's something worth pursuing. So what would be the proper motion?
To refer it to the planner and the zoning officers to come up with some language that we can then submit to the planning board for their recommendation.
Now, one technical question. If we refer this to the planning board the planner can go in front of the planning board, they can approve the language and send it to us.
Correct.
There's no need for them to send it to us, so we can send it back to them, so they can send it back to us.
Correct. He could come up with the language, they could send a recommendation to us with the language, then we would approve it. If we start with us, it has to go back to the planning board for a recommendation.
Okay, so I don't know if it's a formal motion, but I would say that we want to direct the planner to work with Mr. Hayden, because it sounds like Mr. Hayden has a stack of information which may be beneficial and kickstart this process, so we can get it in front of the planning board so that they can come up with language to get to us so we can make this official.
Yeah,
for what your concept is.
I'm with you. I met with zoning and I met with the building inspector. They requested that I request a special use, so if that's the process, that's why I'm here. I just want to be compliant and go through the correct process, like the last group that came up.
Yeah.
Everyone put in stairs down at Riverside. They're actually going through the process. I want to go through the process. I'm not trying to circumvent anything. I was under the understanding that zoning already spoke to planning, so if there's another step, I'm happy to go through that step.
Yeah, I think it would, because if we propose changes, we have to send them to planning. Planning has a period where they have to advertise and do all their stuff, and then they have to send it back to us, and we have to advertise again. So I'd rather it just come straight from planning if possible. Mr. Spencer, do you identify yourself so that Mr. Hayden knows who to go see? All right, so Chris Spencer is the planner, so we'll make sure we get you in touch with him, and that way it originates in planning, and then it just comes back to us so we can vote.
And the last thing I'll say is I just think there was a misconception. I don't have any RVs or motorhomes. I don't have a 20-site campground. There's no utilities at the site. There's no, I do have a water well. I do have 2 CO occupancies at my 2 primary homes, so there's no campground going. It's literally agricultural, educational. If campgrounds were approved, I'd be totally cool with it because I think they're amazing, but I don't think it's going to hurt the town of Tiverton campground. I think it would actually benefit the town, to be quite honest, but that is above my pay grade, and I'm here for this one specific thing. And if the other farms can take advantage of it, then that would be great, because I see honey popping up all over the place. Like Clark's has honey now. Some of the other spots are doing bees, and the bees are truly, they're in trouble right now. So if anyone's interested in having some bees, I highly recommend that you pursue that passion, for the greater good of mankind. So I appreciate everything that y'all are doing, and thank you so much for hearing me.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Mr. Solicitor, a quick question. On that type of topic, agriculture and forestry, Title II, Rhode Island law, agricultural operations, so the whole right to farm, how does that play into that?
I don't want to give you an opinion right on the fly like that, but
you're not tied,
but there are concerns, put it that way.
So,
It's not as broad as some people think it is.
and we're working on the whole use table and updating that.
It would have to be updated, the use table would have to be
Right,
updated.
and-
And a definition of what this would be.
Correct.
Any facilities that may be needed, if you're going to have the public there, you may need, access to a lot of
Bathrooms and
things. So there's
stuff,
just,
right.
it's not as clear cut as just saying yes and no.
But we want to make sure that it's, obviously, I see Mr. Hayden's talking to the planner, so.
That's fine.
They're off to the races, so hopefully this will be back in front of us soon.
We can only hope.
Okay. Chief Costa, we've arrived at your part of the program. Discussion and possible vote to approve contract for automated license plate reader services.
So, just so everybody knows who this is Carl Bark. He is a representative from Flock. I know that we discussed this at the last meeting about doing another presentation, so I thought we'd want to hear this from somebody else at this point in the game. I've also brought with me Deputy Chief Miguel, who is the administrator of the system, Captain Pelagi, who is in charge of the uniform division, and, sorry.
It's on.
It's on. Oh, I'm sorry. And the detectives who actually run the system currently, or use the system currently. To address some of the things that I've heard here tonight and in the past, just to be clear, we have complied with all the opera requests that have been sent my way. They have either been answered by us through guidance of the solicitor, but they have been answered. So I hope that clears that up for the council. This is not illegal. It is not a violation of the Fourth Amendment as the opponents of this program say that it is. It is not. This has been tested in the courts, and it has been found to be legal. I've also, at one of the meetings, was questioned about the data that I was providing to the council and was told that the data was not true and that I was inflating the stats that were presented to you. With that being said, one of the things that I wish I would have done and have made a mistake in doing or not doing was maybe to have some impact statements from people who were impacted by these incidents. For the record, and to be clear, again, all of the information that I'm giving you is backed up by investigations, arrests, and so on. We had a Boogamarsh Road, we had a hit and run with a pedestrian-involved incident. That Flock was used to solve that. The individual got a 15-year prison sentence with 5 years to serve. Most recently, we've had an armed robbery in Fall River, Mass. Flock was used to identify the vehicle, later identify the suspect, and then subsequently an arrest warrant was issued and a search warrant was conducted by the Newport County Special Response Team to arrest that individual who brandished a weapon when he was committing that crime. We've used it at Walgreens for organized retail theft, an attempted stabbing at the Bourne Mill, where a stolen vehicle was involved. Juveniles then tried to enter the residence, 4 juveniles to be exact, and tried to attack residents in the Bourne Mill with bats and knives. We used it for in January of 2026 on an individual from Tiverton who was producing and possessing child pornography. Numerous stolen vehicle complaints, a grandparent scam involving Walgreens in March of 2025 with the elderly victim being out of pocket for $54,000. Another grandparent scam where gold bars were being issued for the amount of $166,000 in gold bars. And we had an elderly person who was missing. It was an Alzheimer's patient, thinking that they were in New Hampshire and were located a day later in Tiverton, Rhode Island, all through the use of Flock. These are facts. These are facts that happened in Tiverton, Rhode Island. To question them, or to question my integrity when I present them, I find offensive. These are all backed up. I've supplied them to the administrator, who I know has given them to all of you as a follow-up. So those are the facts. We continue to use this technology. We've recently had a meeting where you've approved the installation of 2 cameras on Route 24 north and south for the Rhode Island State Police. I'm aware of the opponents of this who are saying that some contracts are being canceled. LAPD, Salem, Mass. I've heard those concerns, and I've tried to investigate those and look into them myself. Some of those contracts have just been expired, and from what I've been told, Flock is in the process of renegotiating them. The LPR technology in those communities is not going away. It'll be what vendor bids for them. Flock will be bidding for those as well. This is the technology that we have in Tiverton, and we've had it since 2022. Yes, there was some concerns about how it was implemented, who paid for these cameras, and how we came about getting them. I think I've answered those questions at other meetings, but I can be very clear on this when I tell you that no cameras were donated to us. We did have a private vendor in town who paid for one of those cameras. He was not the victim of a crime, as many people continue to say he was. He was not. And the other camera was paid for out of the Tiverton accounts, either a technology account or an equipment account. The cameras were never donated, to be clear. As some agencies are getting rid of this technology, or you believe they're getting rid of it, other communities in town are signing on. I'm aware Little Compton didn't do it. I'm aware that Portsmouth passed. But most recently, the town of Lincoln, Rhode Island just signed on to get 12 cameras put in their community. A community that is of our size, with a casino, pretty much a mirror of us. So as some are going off, some are recognizing, and some council people are recognizing the need for this. I would ask that you continue to support this program. We have had it for several years, since 2002. We have been fortunate enough not to have any incidents. But I will not sit here in front of you and tell you that no incident may ever happen or no mistake will ever happen. As I have been told, we bring people in from the human race, they make mistakes. They make mistakes in healthcare, lawyers, doctors, priests, and police officers. This department has prided itself on making sure that we hire the best of the best, and that our police officers comply and they're held accountable for all of these policy and procedures that we have. And I'm proud to say that we haven't had an issue to date. But if we do, the individual who violates this policy will be held accountable. They will be disciplined. They will be educated. And if need be, they would be charged. And we have done this in the past. We would do it again in the future. I don't know how much more I can tell you to show you that this is used to solve crimes. I've heard comments tonight that we're following people to church, we're following children. This is all not even close to being true. It's just not. These cameras take a snapshot in time of a vehicle passing through an intersection. Period. End of story. We then have to go get that data. We have to do the investigation. I heard tonight whether or not it's preventing crime. I hope so, but I cannot tell you that it is. We are using it to solve crimes. But I hope that the bad guys know that it's out there, and they don't want to come to Tiverton. I don't know what else I can say for you. I'll hear for any questions that you have. I'd like to turn this over to Mr. Bach for his presentation on the camera system.
Okay. Mr. Bach.
Thank you, Chief.
Just so you know, these are directional, so as long as it's pointed at you, it'll pick you up.
Okay. Let me know if I need to come closer.
Perfect.
Thank you for this opportunity. My name is Carl Bach. I'm a Public Affairs Manager with Flock Safety. Chief invited us to give a brief presentation about the Flock license plate recognition cameras. We are trying to get something up on the screen, but I'll just run through it and take questions after. So you're all very familiar with the automated license plate readers. It's a technology that's actually been around for quite some time. The new technology includes what you'll see on public streets. It's usually on a pole on its own or on a municipal pole. It's got a solar array and a camera that takes photos as cars pass by. The cameras are positioned to take a photo of the rear of a vehicle to capture license plate and other distinguishing characteristics of a vehicle. It's important to know that this is only used for identified law enforcement investigations and provides law enforcement with precision in identifying a suspect vehicle that's part of identified crime. So what does flock ALPR do and what does it not do? So, like I said, the license plate cameras, they take a picture of a vehicle in a point of time. It's not video. This is on a public road. It captures make, model, and color, license plate of the rear vehicle. It only is used to support criminal investigations, and each search that an officer runs on this system is recorded permanently in an audit log. What does it not do? So there's no facial recognition in the ALPR system. It does not allow for the search of people, pets, or clothing. Again, it's looking for the piece of plastic and metal of the rear of the vehicle. It is not connected to DMV systems or any publicly identified information. We don't know who's in the car, who's operating the vehicle. This does not generate automatic traffic tickets. This is not a speed camera. This will not send you a ticket if you don't stop fully at a stop sign. And this does not track vehicles continuously. It takes a photo when a vehicle passes a camera, and we don't know where it goes after that. What's important to know is that in order to access this system, you have to be authorized by the local authority, your police department. Each individual officer who has access to the system has an individual login, and when they log in and conduct a search, they must conduct a couple things. They have to select from a pre-selected number of offense types. This could be stolen vehicle, arson, burglary, and also has to include a case number. This becomes part of the permanent audit log. There's no way to conduct a search through Flock's technology that's not going to be able to be reviewed. It goes into the permanent audit log. The search will return a still photo of a rear of a vehicle, matching the description of the license plate or the other attributes of the vehicle. So what's often the case is if there's a hit and run, someone may not have the wherewithal to remember the exact alphanumeric characters of a license plate, but they might be able to give you make, model, or color. That's incredibly helpful for law enforcement to enter into the Flock system to identify the suspect vehicle that might be fleeing the scene and bring justice to victims. So privacy and data security are topics that come up quite a bit, so just to tackle that. The data is 100% owned by the customer. That's you. It will never be sold by Flock. Private customers are able to share their networks with law enforcement, but they don't get any law enforcement information. The data is permanently and irrevocably deleted after 30 days by default. It goes in scheduled for deletion, and it cannot be recovered. We've had law enforcement agencies reach out, try to recover data after the 30th day, and it's impossible for us to pull that information. Like I said, the Flock LPR only takes image of publicly available information. This is a government-issued license plate displayed on the rear of a vehicle on a public street in plain view. And only your agency decides who to share it with, not Flock. You have a one-to-one sharing permission. All data that the cameras collect is encrypted at rest and in transit. These are not cameras that are open to public Wi-Fi. This is information that is held under the tightest cybersecurity standards because it's criminal justice data. So to be compliant with the FBI's Criminal Justice Service, the CJIS, we need to maintain frequent audits from third-party auditors. This is not a one-time thing. This is a constant piece. We also have data security and cybersecurity folks who monitor our own security and hardware and software over months to ensure that we're complying with our own security standards. Two additional pieces that are worth knowing. While the picture is deleted automatically after 30 days, the record of the search is contained permanently in the log. So if an officer runs a search for a stolen vehicle, that's information that the department, under their policy, will review monthly to make sure that search was a authorized police use. We also have an ability to aid in the auditing of the audit log, so that if there is a pattern of unusual search behavior, that can be flagged for the administrator to take further investigation. We believe that any misuse of this technology cannot be tolerated, whether it's through administrative or other functions. We need to ensure that this tool is being used for the purpose that it's here for. One other thing that we provide to customers and that you have set up is the transparency log. This is a public-facing website that shows the use of the technology, what's detected, what's not detected, how many devices, the retention schedule, and other information that the agency chooses to share with the public to build trust and transparency. Maybe just a few facts and then we'll wrap up here. You hear sometimes that LPR systems can track people and show police everywhere you go. This is untrue. This is a point-in-time photo of a rear of a vehicle, and any images that aren't being used for an investigation are automatically deleted after 30 days. Courts have consistently shown that this is not a violation of any Fourth Amendment protections, because again, your license plate is on public view, public road, in plain sight. Courts across the country have consistently held that this is permissible use, including the 9th and 11th circuits, showing that this is not track everywhere a person goes. Indeed, one final thing before we wrap up. There's a couple organizations that see value in this technology. One is the National Center for Missing and Exploited Children. This is the organization that runs the nation's Amber Alerts. They've seen that cases have been resolved thanks to the swift action enabled by this technology. This is a case where hours and days really do make a difference between life and death, and agencies who are able to quickly communicate in cross-jurisdictional incidents can help resolve and bring justice and reunite families. The Oakland chapter of the NAACP has cited this as a powerful tool to reduce bias in policing, because the cameras help identify a vehicle associated with a known crime and removes a suspicion and instead adds objective evidence for an investigation. And finally, Mothers Against Drunk Driving has supported this technology, citing that it increases post-crash responsiveness and accountability. Again, it aids with the investigation. If a victim is able to identify the make, model, color of a vehicle that they struck, this can be used for an investigation and maybe even intercept a DUI in progress. So I think I'll stop there and give it back to the chief.
So recently, Providence Journal posted an article that flock cameras or LPRs are responsible for closing in on what they call the first 48, where we know that in homicides, 48 hours, the first 48 hours are instrumental to gathering evidence and solving that crime. They just did a full article in the journal saying that the LPRs are starting to reduce that time frame, because we're getting better witnesses, we're getting better descriptions of vehicles, and we're able to get that information out quicker to solve these crimes. Fall River has just put out an article, I believe it's in the Herald News, that they have, I believe, 40-some cameras now in the city of Fall River.
41.
41, thank you, sir. And they abut us. So the information's there. I've heard the concerns, and I have listened. I cannot get on board with all of them. One of the things that I did implement when I became the chief, and I tasked the deputy chief with, and I can promise you it is a task to Deputy Chief Miguel, is we don't do a yearly audit like it's suggested. We are auditing our flock system in Tiverton every 30 days. When the deputy chief goes into that, he actually looks to see what plate was run. He has to make sure that a call number or an investigative number has been assigned to that, so we can limit any use on this system and we know what it's being used for. I don't know what else I could say to put your mind at ease, but feel free to fire away.
Okay. Questions from the council? Councilor Ferry. I just have two questions for you. One of them, I was going to say that I drive through Fall River every day, and I found out they have 41 cameras. I didn't know that either, but I just found out. My two questions are, first, are these cameras recording? Are they recording?
They do not take video.
They do not take video?
It's a snapshot.
Snapshots only?
Yes.
Thank you. The second thing I have, some gentleman spoke and he said that you people hide a lot of stuff in the contracts. What are you hiding in our contract?
So we're not hiding anything in your contract. Your solicitor would be the best person to talk to about that.
But if I can also...
We don't have a contract yet.
So that was brought up as well. We haven't signed the contract because I promised you that I would come before you tonight before we have anything. So currently, I don't have a contract. But we need to decide what we're going to do here with Flock because normally it would expire June 30th. So when we agreed that I would give you another presentation, we have not signed another contract. So there is not one to give to the solicitor to present because I haven't signed it yet because we haven't made a decision yet. So that's where we are as far as that contract. I can tell you it is the same contract that's been in effect from 2002. And we have successfully been using this program, which is why this is the one that we're putting forward to.
And I'm sure it will be well-checked and looked at by the solicitor and yourself and the deputy.
Yes, sir.
Thank you.
I just want to be clear, so there's no confusion. We produced a purchase order, which was all we had.
Yes.
There is no formal contract yet, which will, I mean, I haven't seen it. I'm sure there's a draft contract that they use, but we would go through that like we go through any other contract. So I'm just letting you know that. But we did not, there's no contract to be given because there's no contract that's executed by anybody. It's a holdover of the 2002 purchase order. That's what we're working under now, I believe. Yeah.
Also, to be clear, Flock doesn't share this technology with ICE or DHS, the Department of Homeland Security. They don't share it with them, and the Tiverton Police, under our contract, does not authorize that usage anyway, which most police departments do not. So to put that out there to use your mind.
Chief, I have a couple of questions, and the gentleman from Flock might be able to help. Is there language in basic other contracts that you have that has a termination clause for any type of violation of data breach or anything like that? Do you know of any contracts that you currently have that have a termination clause?
I don't work on the contract side, so I could find that some sample language and provide to you.
Is that, I guess because you don't have knowledge of it, is that something that we could work to get into a potential contract?
I believe so. In the incident of a data breach, we would have to notify all our customers and notify the FBI as well.
I understand notifying them, but I'm talking about the option to terminate the contract because of a data breach.
Yeah.
Well, when we're signing a contract with them and we're being assured that there won't be a breach, if there is, the contract is then terminated. So to me, it would be done on the spot. So correct me if I'm wrong.
Again, I'm not going to give you an opinion without seeing the language, but that could be a material breach of the contract, Chris. That would warrant a default of the contract.
Is it something you're willing to work with the solicitor on once that time comes, if it gets passed tonight, looking at it?
Sure. Again, the technology is useful for us, but I want to make sure that it is safe and is protected, which is why we did put some of the safeguards in play. That no other agency that I've seen in Rhode Island has a 30-day check on this system. We do.
I'm looking at the data, the Flock transparency portal on the Tiverton Police site right now. So, a couple more questions. The Fall River robbery and how we got involved, was that a Tiverton resident? Or was
Yes.
It was a Tiverton resident?
So an individual entered the a laundromat in Massachusetts down on Canning Boulevard. What the witnesses said, they thought he produced a handgun. He had a holster on the side of his waist. He produced a handgun. It was later determined that it was a knife that was in there. But he got into a vehicle. That vehicle was given a description. We were able to use Flock rather to track that down. And knowing that this obviously was a violent crime, we obtained a search warrant, and our Newport County Special Response Team, which we are part of that group, was able to come out after the warrant was secured, take the individual into custody without incident. So it worked perfectly. It did exactly what it was supposed to do.
Beautiful. And my last question to the gentleman from Flock. Do you know of any large commercial retailers that are currently using these?
Yeah, so this is available to the private sector as well. And actually, the origin of this company is a homeowners association. There was a series of vehicle break-ins, but there was no camera, there's no license plate, there was no place to start an investigation. So the company started by creating these license plate cameras to sell to homeowners associations so that they could link to local law enforcement for investigation. So there's a number of large retail stores that...
If you don't want to use their names to not dox them, that's fine. There's a quick Google search, but...
Yeah, I mean, Home Depot and Lowe's are usually seen. I'm not sure about Walmart, but...
signed on recently.
Okay, yeah, they're...
So for those of you that are concerned about your privacy, Home Depot, Lowe's, Walmart...
Not only are they concerned about their privacy, but we've talked about this in the past at other council meetings where we're taking a snapshot in time. I know that's been said, but I really have to drive that home of your license plate. Anybody in this room can go outside right now and take a picture of all the license plates and all the cars that are in this pocket. It's not a crime. It is not against the law. You can legally do that as long as you are on public property. You can do that. When you go to stores now, Home Depot, Lowe's, Walmart, they're using facial recognition when you check out. We're not looking to do that. I don't even know who's driving the car. We still continue to shop at Home Depot, Lowe's, Walmart, and all these places that have this technology. We can't back off of this because what if something happens? What if there's a breach? Hospitals are breached. Online banking is breached. I'm sure everybody in this room is using online banking. Credit cards are hacked. I'm sure your credit card company will send you another credit card and forgive the debt that's on there. We cannot move forward with the what ifs. If something happens, we'll correct it. We will move forward.
You can't walk around Stop and Shop without running into that robot.
I don't like that robot.
And I worked for Shaw's, and you're being watched.
Councilor Janik?
Do you know if there's any Rhode Island state law that discusses Flock or, any of the other companies, the license plate readers?
So currently, right now, there is none. I know the Chiefs Association is working on it, but currently no.
Okay. And no disrespect, I value protection, but I'm concerned. But our item here on the agenda is possible vote to approve the contract. I have a hard time approving a contract I haven't seen.
Thank you. Thank you. Yes.
I want to know what I'm saying yes to.
I thought that you had the contract.
Did you send us the new contract, or you sent us the old contract?
Yeah. So you have the contract that's up tonight. It's also a copy in front of you, and also was emailed to you by the clerk.
I don't have
The printed copy's right in front of you. Is this the actual? What's the quote? That's the PO. Yeah. That's not an actual service contract.
This is an order form.
Yeah.
This is not a contract.
Charter amendments. What's that? Yeah. So it sounds like to me that the agenda should have said not approve a contract, but approve the purchase order.
Perhaps, yes.
What you got sent from the chief was what I assume Flock has provided, and it's what they need to move forward.
But it's a purchase order.
Correct. So let me ask this question first.
The language is in the purchase order.
So let me ask this question then. Is there a subsequent service contract that gets signed? We say, go, we're going to buy these cameras, right? We complete the purchase order. Then I'm sure there's some sort of a service contract that follows?
We can follow up with a master service agreement that has the level of detail that you would need to feel comfortable.
There is a reference to the master service contract.
Yeah.
I believe that the language was in the packet.
There's a reference to the master service, but that's, yeah, but it's not the master service.
Why wasn't that provided to you? It wasn't when I asked for it.
Because it's not executed yet.
Anything
Oh, but
further, Councilor Janice?
Block has been in business since 2017, not 2002. So what are we doing here?
Ms.
What are
Hall,
we doing?
with all due respect, I understand your frustration. I think you can see the frustration from some of us as well, that we don't have the full services agreement in front of us. But we did listen to your testimony, and I think it would be nice to be respectful and let the council have its turn.
If I misspoke about the dates, I apologize. If I did misspeak, I meant 2022 is when we came into contract. If I misrepresented that date, I apologize. I meant 2022. I did.
Councilor Janice, you still have the floor. You had a couple.
No, that was
it?
my...
Okay. Quick question for you, Chief, on the flock policy. So I know Deputy Chief handles the audits?
Yes.
Monthly basis? Just what specifically are we auditing? Is it just our access to the system? Is it if we've shared information with any other departments?
Deputy? He's doing the audit, so we can hear it from whoever you
Yes, there he is.
ask, sir.
How you doing for me? So, Mr. President, I audit every transaction that our offices make in the system, every single transaction. I go back to our RMS data system. I make sure there's a case number assigned to it. I make sure it's part of an actual investigation. If there's some kind of problem, I personally call the officer in. Why wasn't this done? Why wasn't that done? And every single time I've done it, there's been a logical explanation. So, since I've done these audits, every single transaction has been follow policy.
As I would expect, nothing else.
And it takes me most of an 8-hour day to do it. It's not my favorite task, but I definitely do it.
So, for is it Carl, right? Mr. Bach? So obviously we have the ability to audit what our officers are doing, what our officers are using the system for. Do we have the ability to see who his, like, if another department, like let's say Anchorage, Alaska, access Tiverton?
Yes, we do.
Okay. So we're looking at those two.
We can see anybody who accesses our system.
All right. That was so it's a verifiable way, because I know there's been concerns about, ICE or somebody else accessing the system. We would be the first to know.
No government agency has access to our system. Federal government, excuse me.
Federal. Okay.
So, Mr. President,
Yes.
I can tell you that we have received a couple APRA requests for the audit data, which I think we're one of the few departments that has produced it, and we have produced an audit log basically showing Tiverton's use and what the dates of and what they were looking for when some of the matter was redacted, but the search date, the total number of networks searched, the reason for the search. So we have produced that document as part of the audit that the chief gave us. So we're trying to be as transparent as possible within the confines of the law. And the audit is, but the detailed audit is not.
Who's requesting?
Ms. Hall requested one, and the Rhode Island ACLU has requested, I think, 9 months of data, a significant number of data, and it's almost, I forgot how many lines it was of data, but we basically told them we're going to have to redact it, so we sent them a request back indicating that we'd have to charge you for this redaction, because there was a tremendous amount of data lines that were being used.
So what's the data that they're getting?
Tasha, who uses it, who's using it, what they're looking for, the date.
Not the number of cars that went through.
Well, that's in the audit. That's in
or the plates.
That's the public-facing part of it, but we've got a more detailed APRA request, and we...
But not the plates of the...
No, we redacted that. The case number, the filters that people were looking for, that's all been redacted.
So, follow-on question for you. Obviously, you guys have to comply with the CGIS system for security. You heard Ms. Lopes, I'm sure, earlier asked, where's the data stored?
Yeah, so we are using the AWS GovCloud, and that's the most secure storage available to the commercial sector, often with very sensitive U.S. government workloads.
And if I may, that's our same cloud that our records management system, all of our records management system uses.
So in theory, if...
Sacramento. I don't need more than that. These are the data centers of ours.
Okay.
That's what we use. That's what we use.
So AWS GovCloud, it's secure, it falls within lines of the CGIS system, but you have the CGIS protocol. I'm assuming you guys perform regular security audits, SOC 2 compliance.
That's correct. And we've also hired Bishop Fox, which is a cybersecurity firm. They focus on ethical hacking, where they are constantly looking for vulnerabilities to ensure that we are meeting the moment and that we are not taking these certifications for granted, and that we're constantly looking throughout the system to identify vulnerabilities.
How about the data transmission, like from the camera to AWS GovCloud? How does that go? So
we're encrypted in transit through a number of security pieces. So it's in transit and at rest. It's encrypted.
Okay. People say you can just walk up to these things, plug right into them, and boom, I have access to the camera. Is that true?
That's not true.
Okay. And then that second camera that we have, I know we had one that was paid for by a concerned citizen, but there was a question on if the second one was complimentary. Did you guys gift us a camera?
I don't believe so. I'm new to this contract. I would say that I'm not aware of that.
And I can assure you that it wasn't.
Okay.
There was billing that was attached to that secondary camera, as the solicitor knows, and that we did comply in an opera request about that camera. It's been paid for.
All right. Anybody else on the council? Because if not, I'd just like to say that, I think a big portion of this really falls down to trust. It sounds like your organization, for better or for worse, is disliked by some people. Maybe there's been some problems in the past. Maybe there's going to be some problems in the future. Ultimately, I think for my decision, what it's going to come down to is, do I trust the gentleman to your right, Mr. Bach? Do I trust his deputy? Do I trust the sworn officers who are here to protect this community? And, from my perspective, if the chief says, hey, this has helped us solve crimes and can run a laundry list down, I'd like to be able to continue to solve crimes. The last thing I think that would ever happen from this police department is something goes awry and it, gets shuffled under the rug. We have had incidents in the past. In both of those, or all three of those cases, it was the police department that found the incidents that happened, and they're the ones that prosecuted, and they're the ones who got justice. We actually had requests out to the Attorney General in the state of Rhode Island to assist in some of those, and the state AG had no interest. So, I think our department is probably one of the highest when it comes to integrity, especially when it comes to taking care of their own. So, Chief, if, in my opinion, if you say you need it and you say right now there's no problem, I wouldn't be shocked if there ends up becoming a problem down the line and you come back and say, hey, we need to get rid of these things. I'll take your advice then too.
And that's what we do. Thank you.
Mr. President, can I just add, for those of you that just looked up AWS GovCloud like I did, they literally handle high sensitivity government information, mission control, mission critical information. So this is certainly not a Secretary of Defense playing with signal.
All right, what is the council's pleasure, unless there's more questions? Sorry, Councilor Barry? You're all set. Do we have a motion or?
Accept my review.
So, Mr. Solicitor, if we're going to make a motion, obviously we can do something with this. If we're going to make a motion, since we haven't voted, we can't vote to approve a contract that you haven't seen.
Correct. Yeah, that's correct. Or you could make a motion to approve the contract subject to my review and sign off.
No, this is too important.
That's your choice.
Yeah. Counselor?
So I would make the motion to approve the contract for the automated license plate reader services, subject to the solicitor's review and a termination clause for cause.
Second. Motion's been made and seconded. Any further discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor? Opposed? Thank you. All right, next up we have Bruce Cox and the Harbor Commission, and I believe Stu Gilfillan is here as well for the same item. Discussion and possible vote regarding Memorial Bench Program. Mr. Cox. Thank you, sir.
Good evening. I'm Bruce Cox, 35 Sunset View Drive here in town. Not chairman of Harbor Commission anymore. I am, but this has been a point that's been an issue.
Guys, can we just... Mr. Cox is trying to speak and we can't hear him.
I'll try to speak more loudly. I'm afraid of overpowering microphones. One time I used my foredeck voice and blew people out of the... I race a boat and you have to yell a lot to get the foredeck. The letter you have before you was not hard for me to write. I wrote it the first time in 2023, and it may have actually had a precursor to that. Nothing has happened. I received a copy of Mr. Gilfillan's response to my letter from Dave Stewart of the Commission, and I'm glad to see he feels something should be done and a tight timeline to get it done. I disagree with several elements in his letter, however. You know what we're proposing is a memorial bench. As I said in the letter, it's apples and oranges. Our apple is a gift to the town by a private citizen at a location approved by the town. The town's action is a government action to name a government-owned site. Totally different thing. That is an orange. That is got layers and layers to be peeled away before you do it. In his letter, he says it leaves the town no path to recognize living citizens. I highly admonish you, don't name a living citizen. Just ask the Ralph Pepito's School of Law. From 2007 to 20 years ago, some of you were perhaps yourself a teenager, or I don't know how old you are, but when I was 50 years old and that blew up, I knew one of the people that was on the board, and he called me up and said, "You're not going to believe what just happened." And they had to change the name of the school. Indeed, I read an article that Mr. Pepito himself said, "Please remove my name." I misspoke, I used foul language, so on and so forth. We don't need to go in those details. Don't leave, that's why it's a memorial bench. Similarly, he says, name it after children, so on and so forth. You don't know what people are going to do. But a memorial bench, it's a simple item. It's a gift to the town. A gentleman approached us about it because somebody at the Black Goose knows Dave, who frequents there, said, "What can you do about this?" He wanted to put something down at Grinnell's Beach, and that's how it came before the Harbor Commission. It sort of became a cause for us. I admonish you, form it an ad hoc committee, but suggest to that committee have apples and oranges. It's a private donation of a bench at sites that, and I said in the letter, get every commission, every board involved in it, because the cemetery commissions may say, yeah, we'd like to have a couple of benches. That'd be wonderful. Think about it. Ball fields. Any place you might want to have a bench. And he raises a point, okay, what about maintenance, so on and so forth. That's part of the ad hoc committee can say, here's what we do with that. The bench goes to waste, someone steps up and either replaces it, or it's gone. Maybe it goes away. Nothing lasts forever. The concrete benches down at Stonebridge are probably a pretty good shot to outlive everybody in this room. But that's where this should go. I mean, we've got to get this moving forward. It's absolutely ludicrous that it's been as many years as it's been on the agenda.
So, Mr. Cox, sorry, are you done? Mm-hmm. I don't want to interrupt you. Mr. Cox, I think the reason why we're here, because obviously when we all get elected, it was sitting on our hold list. And it was sitting on our hold list for input from Recreation and input from the Harbor Commission to really get something in front of the council for a couple councils prior to this council being seated. So if we're going to put something together, I'd hate to continue to drag this out. It sounds like you have some great thoughts. I think Mr. Gilfillan has some great thoughts. Can we get the two of you guys to sit down and give us some recommendations?
Either that or ad hoc committee. I mean, that's what my proposal in the letter is. Tell everybody, step up and put it together. If we want to make an ad hoc committee, Stu and I, absolutely, but we already know the points we disagree on. That's why sometimes you need more bodies than just two.
Stu, I think you had something you wanted to add to this discussion, and obviously...
This is why it came off the whole list.
Okay, sure.
Make it Bruce stand?
No, he's one tough old guy. I think that there are a couple things just to take note of. For one, I would say that we're in violent agreement at the idea of needing to come up with a resolution to this and come up with a naming policy. I think where we differ in this is, yes, you make a valid point about there can be concerns around who you name a resource for, be it a bench or a building. That's the intent of the policy, is to help provide vetting within that to ensure that you do the best possible thing you can to avoid having those problems. I would point out that when we talked about, Recreation talked about extending it to people that are living, the requests were coming from grandparents who wanted to name buddy benches after their kids, right? So it wasn't necessarily an issue that I think is applicable for that particular example. I would also say that at the administrator's suggestion, a number of us are meeting on Thursday. I think there are 3 committee chairs, including the open space chair and the planner, just as a starting point to that discussion. But I would agree that having an ad hoc committee makes sense. I think the fundamental difference in this is we have no guidelines as a commission for doing naming rights on other items. And the area in particular that the Harbor Commission is looking to do memorial benches is actually under Recreation's purview. So what we're looking to do is, there's no disagreement on the need for a policy around memorial benches. We're just looking to make sure we have something more holistic so there's a roadmap for us to follow in the future. So I think that's where the distinction is.
Does that sound fair, Mr. Cox?
I think mine is very simple, and the other holistic policy is more complex, but certainly willing to try to work it forward. I mean, it's just...
If you wouldn't mind, because if this goes back on the hold list and it's here in November...
It's going to be over a year
in 6 months otherwise.
I would be more than sit between the two. I'm more than happy to sit between the two of you, so.
I think, again, I don't think there's any issues with animosity here. I think we just have
we're friendly. We're both involved with the Marines.
We'll schedule a fight club. It'll be fine. That's
right.
So
that's for Hoover Street Park.
Correct me if I'm wrong here. So it sounds like, Stu, you want something more holistic, right? We have an issue where if somebody wants to buy a bench in memorial of someone else, right, Mr. Cox has a more streamlined approach for policy. Would it be possible to narrow it down to just the memorial benches for now? Doesn't have to be set in stone or in concrete as a bench. But at least it gives us something to go on, and then we can revisit.
Sure. I would offer that if a ad hoc committee was put together and part of the charge was doing that, and you were all right with us putting forth a component of the policy with the understanding that a larger outcome needed to be resolved, then yeah, I think that'd be fine. I think if it was just a matter of we're going to do the memorial bench and then we're done.
Because correct me if I'm wrong, but right now, since we have no formal policy adopted, we have, essentially nothing from the committees. If somebody comes in front of the council and says, I want to buy a bench to remember my grandfather and I want to put it at Grinnell's Beach, we could ask for your input or we could just do it.
You do actually have draft submissions from both of our committees that were submitted, I think probably 2 years ago. The distinction is that they are different as kind of what you're hearing here, and that's why having a committee that would be able to sit down and evaluate, which those discussions have not occurred at this point, would be, I think, valuable at that point.
So really, we're talking about reconciliation between the Senate and the House.
It's not that...
With snacks, yeah.
I am a paragraph or a subsect, a subparagraph of the overall policy. And just one little simple thing, memorial bench. He's talking, and I'm glad to work with him on it. If it moves memorial benches forward, by all means.
All right. Can we move the memorial benches forward, and then we can talk about an ad hoc committee? I mean, as you guys know, we're proposing charter amendments to reduce the size of committees. Adding another one may or may not work.
Well, my ad hoc committee says 90 days, so you can do Christmas gifts at memorial benches.
And I think we would share that timeline view. I don't think we want to spend a lot of time on this, candidly.
All right. Mr. Solicitor, anything for us to do here other than, no?
Continue to the next agenda, let us meet, and then I'll report back at Mr. Cox.
Sound fair, gentlemen?
Sounds fair.
Okay. Thank you. All right, next item on the agenda is receipt of recommendation from Planning Board related to amending Zoning Ordinance, District Use Table, Article 4, District Use Regulations, Section 18, Age-Restricted Mixed-Use Community, subsection B1, C, L, and M, and request to advertise the proposed amendment for a public hearing. I'd like to entertain a motion to advertise for public hearing, which would be in at least 3 weeks of advertising. Do I have that motion?
So moved.
Do I have a second? Motion been made and seconded by Councilor Janik. Any further discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor? Councilor Perry is in favor. Next item on the agenda is Administrator Jones. Discussion and possible vote to authorize the administrator to reimburse the city of Woonsocket for $10,000 because apparently we have another police officer.
Firefighter, sir. Thank you, Mr. President, members of the council. So this actually has been as a result of the lateral transfer law that went into effect under the last General Assembly. And I know how your feelings are, because they're my feelings as well, that we were the victim of this for many a year, and now it seems like we are the suspects in having to pay this out. I will say that I had conversations with the mayor and the former fire chief, along with our current fire chief. We're involved in these negotiations because it started under Chief Bailey. And there were some nuances with the city of Woonsocket's interpretation of the law. I can assure you that this amount was higher, almost double. So what we did through our legal counsel, through the chiefs and myself, and the mayor's office in Woonsocket, came to a equitable agreement. And so what I'm asking for you to do tonight is authorize me to work with its Attorney Cavazza for a reimbursement to the city of Woonsocket not to exceed $10,000.
I'd like to entertain a motion for such.
So moved.
Second. Motion's been made, seconded by Councilor Janik. All those in favor? Okay. Next item is Administrator Jones' discussion and possible vote to award the professional audit services contract to Haig, Sahadi and Company, PC. This has been our auditor and I believe sole bidder in this instance, correct?
Yes, sir.
Okay.
Just authorize, after speaking with the solicitor and obviously the treasurer, per the charter, you must authorize this, so that's why this is in front of you tonight.
I'd like to entertain a motion to award the professional audit services contract to Haig, Sahadi and Company. Motion by Councilor Perry, seconded by Councilor Janik. Any further discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor?
Thank you.
Now for the lengthy part of our discussion here, or maybe it'll be quick. You want a 5-minute break, sir? Let's take a 5-minute.
Vote on this and go to break. Because then we can...
No, this. We got to go back and do the charter questions.
Look at all the charter.
That's a must-do tonight, right?
We have to do this tonight.
Have to do this tonight.
Yes, 3 minutes. We're going to do 3 minutes. Okay?
You can do more than that.
effective.
This is the longest board meeting I've ever had.
Well, you plan.
All right, are we ready to rock and roll? Okay. All right, so now we get discussion and final vote on amendments to the charter amendments and their corresponding ballot questions as continued from July 20th, 2026. Up first, we have Article 4, Town Council, Section 401. Mr. Solicitor, have you made any alterations since we had this discussion? Oh, and just so everybody is aware, the way they are presented here is just the tentative way they will be on the ballot. If we'd like to move anything up or down.
Oh, you mean the order, you mean?
The order, yes. So our Article 4 is Town Council, Section 401. This is to move the council from 2-year, everybody runs, to staggered terms, which would start not this election, but the subsequent election. And the 3 highest vote getters would receive a 4-year term, and then the 4 lowest vote getters would serve for a 2-year term, and then they would be up for a 4-year term.
I did not have any changes to this section. I know Todd made some changes to the questions, but as presented, I'm okay with it.
The effective date says November 3rd, 2026.
Correct.
We talked about not doing that.
You got to look at the paragraph above. In order to implement staggered terms, those candidates who receive the 4 highest vote total as the election of November 7th, 2028. So this becomes effective, but it doesn't get implemented until
Okay,
November
I got
7th,
it,
2028.
Okay, so are we good with that one, and we think that one should be number 1?
So I need you to vote on the language, approve the language in the charter, and then the questions.
Okay, I'd like to entertain a motion to approve the language in the charter as
So Article 4, Section 401 as presented.
As presented, and the ballot question. We're going to do it.
You want to do it? Okay.
Unless there's alterations, we'll catch the alterations before we final vote. So I'm looking for a motion to approve the language in the charter as presented and the ballot question as presented.
So moved. Second.
Motion's been made and seconded. Any further discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor? Okay, so that one is in, like Flynn. Next up is Article 6, Financial Services, Section 602, Town Treasurer through Section 606, Transition. This is, we did make, I don't believe we made any changes to the language on this one.
So this is for the treasurer, correct?
Yes, this is the treasurer to
I just want to point out one thing, and I know the treasurer's here. So I have language here, the town treasurer shall be appointed by the town administrator subject to the approval of the town council for an initial contract period not to exceed 3 years by no less than 4 affirmative votes of the town council. The town treasurer will report to and be supervised by the town administrator. I looked, after seeing this, I looked at the other language for all the other appointed positions, not the clerk, but the treasurer, and they all have this language. The town treasurer shall be appointed by the town administrator with the approval of the town council for an initial contract period not to exceed 3 years, period. Renewal contract shall not exceed 3 years. That's for the police chief, the fire chief, and whatnot. I added, so that's, to be consistent, that's the language to be consistent with all the other provisions in the charter, the other appointed people that are appointed by the town administrator. I added this 4 affirmative votes of the town council for this position as well as the town clerk's position for a reason, but I wanted to point out that the reason is that you would need 4 affirmative votes. So if 4 people show up like tonight and you were here to appoint a town treasurer, you need everybody to vote.
Yep.
Okay, it's just not a quorum. It's just a majority. So it's a little different from the other positions. And I only point that out because a good lawyer will say, well, they did it this way for these other positions. There must be a reason why they didn't do it for these other, for the town clerk and the town treasurer. So I just want to make that clear. If you want to be consistent, you can go with the language I just read to you. If you want to keep it 4 affirmative votes, that's how you, it's up to you.
I would suggest we keep it as the 4 affirmative votes for 2 reasons. Number 1, because we're transitioning from elected to appointed, and this is obviously a different mode for the town of Tiverton. And then number 2, we're talking about effectively the chief financial officer and the chief operating officer for the town. And so I would think that the board would want to be a majority of the board that would approve those.
Well, at least 4.
At least 4, which would be a majority.
Correct. But tonight would be 4. It would have to be unanimous. If this vote was taken tonight, it would have to be a unanimous vote.
We would just make sure we don't do it when there are 3 people.
All right. I'm just pointing that out.
Oh, you're saying, so tonight it has to be...
No. If tonight we were appointing a treasurer, this was passed.
All right. I thought you were saying to approve the language.
No, I'm sorry. If tonight, assume this was passed, and tonight we have a treasurer before us, there's only 4 people here, every person would have to vote yes, or that person would not be appointed.
And I personally think that is...
I just wanted to point out that difference. It's different from the other positions, the police chief, the fire chief, and the other positions.
Mr. Administrator, you have a thought.
And I would say that the town administrator should make sure that the whole council is seated if he or she is presenting the next treasurer, the next town clerk.
I just want to point out that difference. That there is a distinction that has been made, and I wanted to explain why I did that.
Okay. Any questions on the language or the ballot question from any of the council? If not, I'd like to entertain a motion to approve the language as presented and the ballot question.
So moved.
Second. Motion's been made by Councilor Paul, seconded by Councilor Perry. Any further discussion? Hearing none. All those in favor? It's unanimous. We got 4 votes, Mr. Solicitor.
Same thing with, same change with the town clerk.
Okay. Any questions on the language? If not, I'd like to entertain a motion to approve the language as presented for Article 8, Town Officials and Offices, Section 801, Town Clerk, as well as the ballot question in front of us.
So moved.
Second. Motion been made and seconded. Any further discussion? Hearing none. All those in favor?
4 more votes.
4 votes again for the town clerk. Okay, next up is Article 8, Town Officials and Offices, Section 806, Town Planner. This one, it would be 4, number 4 on the ballot.
Now, I also want to point this out as well. This does not require council approval. This is appointed by the town administrator for initial contract period of 3 years. Obviously, they would have to approve the contract, but not necessarily the appointment.
Correct. So no different than the police chief, the fire chief.
Same, similar.
Same language. Okay.
Let me just check that.
Oh. Sure. We're getting squirrely on the language for appointments.
Language is important, guys.
This is true. Without it, we'd just be grunting.
There would be no lawyers without any language.
That's still a long.
You can tell it's getting late. All right.
Well, the fire chief is with the advice and consent of the council. I believe the police department is also.
The approval of the contract.
Yeah, and so it's a little different. The planner does not have an approval of the town council.
So I would posit that we would want to have the language reflect the exact language for the appointment process as the police chief and the fire chief.
Okay. So just make that amendment.
Recognizing that this is a important position. Any other comments or questions from the council? If not, I'd like to entertain a motion to approve.
So can I just, let's get the amendment on this. So there shall be a town planner who shall be appointed by the town council subject to the approval, excuse me, the town administrator, subject to the approval of the town council, right? We're going to add that language?
What does there say, advice and consent?
For an well, advice and consent. They use all different kind of language, but you can choose.
Pick one. Pick one.
I like
that mirrors what's in the charter.
I like subject to approval for the town council.
Okay. Everybody good with that? Yep. Consensus? Yes? Nope. So now I'd like to entertain a motion to approve the language as presented and amended and the ballot question for Article 8, Town Officials and Offices, Section 806, Town Planner.
So moved.
Second. Motion's been made by Councilor Paul, seconded by Councilor Perry. Any further discussion? Hearing none. All those in favor? Okay. Next one on the list is Article 2, Elections, Section 204, Transfer of Town Land, and Article 4, Town Council, Section 407.
So this was a change. We combined it, as you mentioned at the last meeting, so this will be one question.
All right. Are we still good with the one question? Okay. Any alterations to the language or ballot question? Hearing none, I'd like to entertain a motion to approve Article 2, Election, Section 204, Transfer of Town Land, and Article 4, Town Council, Section 407, as presented, and the ballot question that accompanies it.
So moved.
Second. Motion been made by Councilor Paul, seconded by Councilor Perry. Any further discussion? Hearing none. All those in favor? Okay. Next up is Article 7, Budget Committee, and Article 3, Annual Budget Process, Financial Town Referendum, Section 301B6, Budget Committee. This would eliminate the Budget Committee and replace it with a reserved line item. Any questions on the language? Well, there really is no language. It's elimination of all language. If not, I'd like to entertain a motion to approve the amendment as presented and the ballot question that accompanies it.
So moved.
Second.
Motion's been made and seconded. Any further discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor? Okay, next item is Article 10, Boards and Commissions, Section 1008, Tiverton Harbor and Coastal Waters Management Commission. This would reduce the number of Harbor Commission members from 9 to 7. Are we good with the language?
And remove the planning board member.
And remove the, well, yeah, that's how we're going from effectively 9 to 7 by removing the planning board member and removing one Harbor Commission member. Okay. Any questions on the language? If not, I'd like to entertain a motion to approve the amendments as presented and the budget commission, or the budget question that accompanies it.
So moved.
Second.
Motion's been made and seconded. Any further discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor? Okay, next up is Article 10, Boards and Commissions, Section 1001, Planning Board. This would reduce the number of planning board members from 9 to 7. Do we have any questions on the language or the ballot question? If not, I'd like to entertain a motion to approve the charter amendment as presented in the accompanying ballot question.
So moved.
Motion's been made by Councilor Perry, seconded by Councilor Paul. Any further discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor? Unanimous. Next up is Article 10, Boards and Commissions, 1007, Personnel Board. This would enshrine the council governance policy into the charter. Mr. Solicitor has a comment.
So I was at the last meeting, but I heard the comments. I did watch it. So this language on 4 was added at the request of the council to mirror the policy. But I just want to point out, I believe it's inconsistent. So the town council is solely responsible for the hiring of the town administrator, and it shall review and improve the job description for the position prior to being posted and advertised. Then it says, all applications and submissions for the position of town administrator shall be sent to the personnel board for review and if determined to be qualified by the personnel board to be interviewed. That doesn't mean that they're solely responsible anymore, right? That's a little inconsistent. You're solely responsible for the hiring of a town administrator, but you're going to refer it to...
We're responsible for the hiring, not the vetting.
Okay, so that's how you make that distinction. Solely responsible.
That's how I read it, but if you have a recommendation to strike the word solely...
That's fine. I think the solely would make it a little bit more clear. Strike that word solely.
Are we in agreement striking the word solely?
Yeah.
Okay, I think that's a fair amendment. And other than that, Mr. Solicitor, that
I'll strike that.
Passes your review, sir?
Yeah.
No, it's not major. It's the opposite of what they was presented.
Okay, so in that case, if there is no further discussion on the language, I'd like to entertain a motion to approve the language as amended at this table and this accompanying ballot question for Article 10, Boards and Commissions, Section 1007, Personnel Board.
So moved.
Second.
Motion's been made by Councilor Paul, seconded by Councilor Perry. Any further discussion? Hearing none. All those in favor? Okay. Next up is Article 10, Boards and Commissions, Section 1002, Zoning Board of Review. Any questions on the language?
These are just required amendments because of the change of state law.
Okay. If we have no discussion points, I'd like to entertain a motion to approve the language as presented in the ballot question that accompanies.
So moved.
Second.
Motion been made and seconded. Any further discussion? Hearing none. All those in favor? Okay, it is unanimous. Next item on the agenda is Article 10, Boards and Commissions, Section 1014, Economic Development Commission. Councilor Paul, I know there have been some questions as to if we want to shorten the number of questions down, this might be one that we'd remove. I don't know if you had any more thoughts on that. If not...
No, it was discussed. I just think that in this particular economic development, I know there's been discussion on not putting them under planning, but having them kind of go a different route to the planner than to the administrator versus directly to.
I think the administrator would have the ability to delegate responsibilities, correct, Mr. Solicitor?
Yeah, this doesn't change that. This just was kind of clarified some of the old language and updated the language, but this has nothing to do with a report to or anything like that.
No, I know. It's just it's the amount of language that was put in here versus the duties they kind of handle already. I don't know if there's one to shorten it. Otherwise, 12's not horrible. We started with what, 14 or 15?
Yeah. Combine some. I don't think it's...
No, I would agree.
Yeah.
All right.
I'm not worried about that one.
In that case, I'd like to entertain a motion to approve the language for Article 10, Boards and Commissions, Section 1014, Economic Development Commission, and accompanying ballot question.
So moved.
Second.
Motion's been made by Councilor Paul, seconded by Councilor Perry. Any further discussion? Hearing none. All those in favor? Final. Article 11, School Department, Section 1101, School Committee. This would prevent Councilor Perry from filing charter complaints against the school committee for not complying with their annual elections.
I'm still filing.
There's still time, that's correct.
Good, Ms. Janik.
Any questions?
So this language, I believe, came from the Charter Commission?
It came from the Charter Commission at the recommendation of the school committee because they do not hold annual elections for the officers.
I believe also the other language from its members, which is really kind of redundant, but that's fine. And then by saying each whom shall serve at the pleasure of the committee means that the committee at any time could change the chair with a majority vote.
Yeah. Well, now, question on this, because I think we had a couple discussions, and I'll credit Councilor Paul for this idea, is what if we just change it to say that they shall hold an election for their officers after each election period?
It's up to, why not leave it up to them? They could do it. They might elect a chair and not like that chair within 3 months, and they can have another election for a new chair.
But there's nothing in practice that would stop them.
The language clearly indicates. What I'm trying to do is prevent. Sometimes in charter arguments they say you get elected for the council president or school committee. You're elected for the term that you get elected. So this makes it very clear that they elect a chair, but that chair serves at the pleasure of the committee. It doesn't have a term of office.
Logic checks out.
Yeah, but I think the language change we talked about was adding after an election. So I understand where it's essentially annually or at the call of any member, but they could also argue, well, we don't do that. So
well, generally that's kind of like a policy issue. Like they determine when they elect a chair. That usually happens right after the election anyway. So it's not.
In practice, that's what it's been.
It's
in practice, it's been annually based on the charter.
Well. Yes, Madam Clerk.
Exactly, that's what I'm saying. But you're saying policy, the charter says annually.
I think like the zoning board, the planning board, I think their policies indicate that they elect a chair every year.
I'd like to hear Madam Clerk's thoughts.
I just want to make sure that you have read the response from the school committee chair. She was unable to make it tonight, but she did send a email, and it's provided in your backup. And their intention was just to remove the word annual. That was their recommendation.
Yeah, I know.
The other language came from the Charter Commission, I believe.
I kind of like the Charter Commission's language.
Yeah, my issue is removing annual and just leaving it open-ended. You can call it a policy, then we're going to have to go through the charter again.
Right. No.
All right, so if we're all relatively in agreement here, I'd like to entertain a motion to approve the language as presented in Article 11, School Department, Section 1101, School Committee, and accompanying ballot question.
So moved.
Seconded by Councilor Perry. Any further discussion?
No.
All in favor? Councilor Janik's already voted. I love it.
So, Council President, I would ask that you, again, do a catch-all amendment approval that gives the solicitor and the town clerk the ability to make non-substantive Scrivener error changes to the language and to the question, so that we make sure every time we read this, we find new typos. So.
Yes. Do I have that all-encompassing motion?
Permission granted.
So motion by Councilor Perry, seconded by Councilor Janik?
Yes.
Seconded by Councilor Janik. All those in favor? Okay. Now, I'd like to make a motion to go into closed executive session. Solicitor Marcelo, Rhode Island General Laws, 42465A2, potential litigation regarding tax treaty with Twin River Tiverton LLC. Do I have a second?
Second.
Seconded by Councilor Janik. Councilor Janik?
Yes.
I'm a yes. Councilor Paul?
Yes.
Councilor Perry?
Yes.
We are now in closed executive session.